Welcome to NTR Radio. I'm Tom Porcinubis.
I'm K-Gods.
And I'm VZ Mark II.
Hey, everybody. How we all doing out there in internet land?
Okay.
See, I can't even say it's been a while since it's been the normal 2 weeks between the episodes.
Yeah, we should point something out right off the bat. We had a guest that had to bail.
Yes, we were going to have a guest on this episode. Unfortunately, they are not feeling well, and so we are continuing the episode without them. We hope to do them justice.
Yes, and we have permission to do so, so we're not going to hold like we might have done if we wouldn't have got it at the last minute.
Yes, indeed. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell all you listening live how to get involved with the show. What you do is you head yourself on over to NTR Radio, ntrradio.net. Click on the live chat link. That'll bring you to the page where you can insert your name and click the button and join us in the IRC channel. Alternatively, you can take your favorite IRC client, point it at irc.ryzen.net, and join us in the # SLC media channel. In addition, you can get at us on Twitter at @tinubis, at vzmk2, at immortal_kgods, at ntr_radio, and as always, the email address to get involved with the show is ntrradio@gmail.com.
And with that...
So I actually did watch some stuff between last episode and this episode. I'm 100% caught up in O Maidens in Your Savage Season.
Oh, okay. I'm actually curious what you think of that.
Excellent anime.
Oh, you're really liking it?
Oh, I'm really liking it.
Because it's kind of been going down a little bit for me. I mean, I'm still watching it.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay.
I think it's fantastic.
The only thing I really watched, and again, I haven't watched a whole lot. I pretty much was sort of casually watching some Dragon Ball Super shit, and not only that, but I'm currently watching Vinland Saga and Danmachi.
Oh.
Right now.
See, I'm surprised you're not watching the, Mommy Isekai.
Well, to be honest, I'm actually kind of busy these days, so it's been one of those I'll get to it when I can get to it.
All right.
That's one I need to catch up on.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I appear to have pulled muscles earlier. That was fun.
Welcome to me a month and a half ago.
Because what I was doing was I was lifting something, and it was one of those things where I had it and everything, but then I had to crouch down and pick something that fell off of it. You know what I mean? And when I did, I obviously had to lean back down. And then when I came back up, I guess it got it. Because I did it too fast or something like that, and now I'm in pain. Yeah, so I'm not going to go into too many details where, but let's just say injury.
Is that it, or?
Oh, as for watching stuff, I mean, beyond that, I've just been watching a couple of regular movies here and there.
All right. Is that it on Anubis too?
Yeah, that's just about it. I did catch. I bought Wagneria on DVD quite a while ago. Actually, I didn't mention it last episode.
The first season.
Yes.
Okay, so that's
working for the weebs out there.
Yep.
Yeah, that was when NIS had it, because
yes,
they only released the first and second season. Then Aniplex got everything else. And
did they just kind of restructure it and re-release it, or?
No, they did the season 3 and the spin-off one.
Oh, okay.
Which is why I haven't gotten those.
Pressed for money, are we?
Yeah. Well, listen, I really wanted to buy Cells at Work, but it's like 139.
Too many figures?
Well, that's the thing. Even for anime, I could buy like 3 series for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's Aniplex, so
Well, as far as what I'm doing, I've been really getting into the Madoka game, Magia Road.
What was that released for? I'm out of it.
Oh, it's for the it's an iOS thing. It's a download.
It's a mobile game.
okay. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say because
mobile.
it's what is this like PS4, Switch, PC?
No, I don't have any of those things.
Okay.
This is I play on my iPad, so it's really fun. It's turn-based RPG. Lots and lots of characters. What's interesting is then like Umi Oki is still the main character designer, but there's other character designers for other magical girls in there too.
Right.
One of them you would be interested in is the character designer for Seren Kagura.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mr. Hometown.
Yeah. Another one was done by the one that did Laid Back Camp.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, when you say it's a turn-based RPG, do you mean kind of like in the older style that's sort of like old Final Fantasy games, or because I'm kind of curious if you mean it's more like that or more modern, kind of like Secret of Mana, kind of where it's not, well, it's turn-based, I guess, but it's also, I don't know, I'm trying to think of how I want to describe that.
Well, I haven't played modern RPGs, so that's kind of my like knowledge of JRPGs is stuff like the Phantasy Star, especially Phantasy Star 4, and Final Fantasy 7. So
okay, fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
So if it's anything like those, yeah, it's turn-based.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stuff I've been watching. Oh Maidens, in your summer season.
Oh Maidens. Doesn't that almost sound like it could be even just a regular sitcom on TV? And it would be like it'd take place back in the past or something. You could almost see it being like some kind of weird British sitcom.
Oh Maidens.
Top of the morning.
Yeah. Or like a Victorian.
Everybody there wears like monocles and top hats and shit. Have horse-drawn carriages and Anyway. This would you laugh and say that would never happen, but we're talking about a country that made a Hitler-themed sitcom. Granted, it only lasted, I think, for like one episode before they canceled it.
Right.
It was called like Heil Honey I'm Home.
Yeah.
I was like, no way this is real. When somebody brought that up, I was like, no way. They couldn't have possibly thought this was a good idea.
Let's see. I'm watching Mommy Isekai.
Okay, yeah.
Again,
like I said,
it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Right. Did you see the one guy on Twitter that was basically holding a poll that said if I get X amount of likes or retweets, I'll watch it with my parents?
Oh, I didn't see that, but that's great.
I was like, what the fuck? That's good.
What else? I'm watching.
Insert jokes about you should be watching here.
Astro Lost in Space. That's actually my favorite show this season.
Okay, here we got some. All right, I watched an episode of How Honey I'm Home. I was hoping it'd be horribly offensive. It was just a shitty sitcom with Hitler. Aww. I wonder if they actually filmed the actual whole season and it's like they just canceled it and you could get like a set or whatever. Either way, I wouldn't do it because it just sounds like it'd be stupid. But
probably not.
Yeah, like somebody got hammered and thought it was a funny idea, and then they immediately canceled it.
Astro Lost in Space is actually my favorite show this season.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that, but I haven't seen it yet.
I need to actually sit down and watch that one.
I know some of my friends are actually watching that.
Yes, it's really good.
Okay, I'll put it on the checkout list. There's actually a lot more this season that I've got kind of on the back burner than I thought.
Mm-hmm. And the other one I'm watching is How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift?
That's one I need to catch up on.
Yeah, that one's good too.
You gotta love the names of these things. Actually,
I know. Remember when anime was three? Was it a noun, a verb, and then the show?
Or it was just one word, like Outlanders.
Yeah. It's either that or
the Slayers, or
Mobile Suit Gundam, Super Dimensional Fortress Macross.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there is precedent for some of these wonky names. Let's not. I mean,
Now, yeah. Well, now it's run-on sentence. That's the description of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, right. I mean, I think my favorite one is, and again, sorry, my favorite one in terms of just amusement factor, is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon?
Yeah.
Everything, not only is it a question, but it's a weird question. Like, wait a minute, what?
Well, I don't know. I still like.
Apparently, that originally wasn't supposed to be the name.
Well, I don't know. I still think the better probably. My little sister can't be this cute.
Right.
Honestly, the one I'm on board with is "Do You Love Your Mom" and her 2-hit multi-target attacks.
Right.
The one that's airing this season. I think that's the best one so far.
And
until we get the anime for, I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level.
Or
the best isekai, reborn as a vending machine, now I wander the dungeon.
Or here's another one. Help, I've reincarnated in the red light district.
Is that an actual title of an isekai?
No, I'm saying it could be one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is the vending machine isekai is an actual
real
one?
I know. I'm just trying to think of ones that would be entertaining.
Listen to me, girls. I'm your father.
The Soviet space program failed. No.
That's just a fact. No, it really didn't. But
not exactly. No.
But I'm still on "Do You Love Your Mom" and her 2-hit multi-target attacks.
That's
my top long ass
title that otherwise would piss you off.
Anime title that would otherwise piss me off, but it's too ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, let's go around just kind of asking people, what is your favorite ridiculous light novel based, isekai title? The funny thing is, I bet everybody has one too.
Oh yeah.
Like they're like, yeah, the one that sounds really ridiculous to me is, insert XYZ. I mean, that's one of those things where I stopped getting annoyed and more just kind of laughed at it.
Oh, I still get pissed off.
Well, it
I still
depends.
get pissed off unless it's really creative, like "Do You Love Your Mom" and her 2-hit multi-target attacks, or "Reborn as the vending machine, I now wander the dungeon," or "I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level."
Now this shows an ignorance of not seeing the vending machine thing or reading it or whatever.
We should take old shows and how they would be titled today.
Well, hang on a sec. Hold that thought. The vending machine thing. Okay.
Yes.
I do you have any real familiarity with it at all, other than the title?
I own the book. The guy gets killed in the real. He's a vending machine otaku who gets killed in the real world, and is reborn in the fantasy world as a vending machine, and he can vend anything that he bought from a vending machine in his previous life.
Okay.
And he gets carried around on some girl's back.
I was gonna say, how does this even move around? Okay, you answered the question.
Yeah, he has back straps and gets carried around on this girl's back.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
this
is
why
a real
shrooms
thing
are
that I
legal.
own. This isn't just a joke I keep telling. This is a real product that was put out for people to buy.
This is why shrooms are legal in Japan.
So here you go. An alien spaceship crashed on Earth, but I'm more concerned about choosing between two girls. See?
The thing about that is you could actually make that about a couple shows.
Yeah, that's quite a few shows.
Holy shit, that could be a Onegai teacher reference. I mean, anyway, or To Love Ru, or
that's Onegai teacher. That's To Love Ru. That's World of Norway. That's Tenchi
Muyo.
Muyo.
Oh, see, I was thinking Macross, but
yeah, well, see, that's the point.
I was thinking Macross.
well, yeah, but see, that's the point. It's applicable to a ton of shows, and those are just ones off the top of my head. I'd hate if I actually had to look and think of which ones, all of them, it would, Jeez. Anyway, I got tongue twisted there. Okay, let's see here. I remember back in the day that Utawara Rumuno was the anime title that was a mouthful. Yeah. Any words like that usually trip people up.
I actually remember I have an issue of New Type USA where they actually explain how to pronounce that.
Oh yeah. Well, how most people probably freaked out when they saw the Rotsuki Doji since they didn't actually translate what that is.
Right.
Which is, for those who don't know, like Wandering Kid or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's Rotsuki Doji. It separates, but you say it in one kind of. And if you type it out, it's actually got the like macron over the O.
Right.
Yeah. So it for some reason, I think it's cooler that they left it like that. It just sounds more ominous that way, for some reason. I mean, let's be real here. What sounds more imposing, the Wandering Kid or Orotsuki Doji?
Yeah.
I mean, So, well, all you have to do is look at the cover and you know kind of what you're in store for on some of them. I mean, I don't know about either of you guys, but you'd go like to the rental place and you would see like twin angels or something on the cover. They're just getting rammed.
He did another one called Adventure Kid.
Right, but you look at some of the covers of these old hentai, and it's just like you could not know this was porn. No,
But they still have to put a sticker on it.
Well, right, but when you've got like two girls that are twins flopped upside down, being jammed full of like tendrils and shit. I mean,
well, see, that was one of those that was always like one of those urban legends, but never confirmed of like a mother, a parent buying something for their kid. One of those, not knowing.
Oh, oof. Now the Rotsuki Doji ones you might have been able to pull off because some of them were a little bit more. They weren't quite as obvious as some of these other ones were.
Or I remember an anecdote from someone, I don't even remember who went to the rental store and got Dragon Half and enjoyed Dragon Half. And then they went to the rental store and got Dragon Pink and discovered that those two things are not similar in the least.
As an aside, really enjoyed it. Sorry, I don't know that. I actually have seen it, and I want to just point out that the main character's name is Santa.
Yep.
Yeah. And the main character is a dark-skinned girl.
There was another dragon one. Trying to remember, I've seen it. And this one I saw Dragon
Knight.
That's it.
Yeah, that one. I remember that one.
Yeah.
Again, these were during the heyday of ADV films, which is sort of foreshadowing something we'll talk about later.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Same thing with Anime 18, which was Central Park Media's adult-only label.
Yeah. Well, ADV's adult thing was soft.
I said Central Park Media.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I think we should get rolling it in the second segment.
So we're going to take our break.
Yes, we're going to hit up a break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about the history of anime of the 1990s. So keep it right here. Be right back on NTR Radio.
All right.
Welcome back to NTR Radio.
It's the 90s. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mortal Kombat, censorship, all those things are popular. Wait a minute.
Doom comes out, and everyone is worse off for everyone but id Software is worse off for it.
School shootings are in the news. Oh,
Hey,
wait.
Also talk shows.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It really is
Jerry
like a
Springer.
weird sequel out here
Jerry
in the 2010s.
Springer. Yeah, Jerry Springer.
Also still on. So,
Jenny
yeah.
Jones was one I used to watch a lot. For the obvious reason, if you don't know.
Well, it's weird in the sense that the 2010s is sort of like a oddball 90s sequel. In the sense that a lot of the things that were obnoxious about it or just generally unpleasant have seemingly come back in this weird sort of fad kind of way. Like, you have all these remakes and stuff of shows that originally came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then you also have, like, this really hardcore contingent of hyper political correctness that's come back.
Which is funny because I was watching Married with Children yesterday, where it's like it was like the feminist version of No Ma'am called like Fang.
Okay, that actually sounds like something that would really be out there, though.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It was like back then. It's like, this is nothing could get to that level, and like
this could never
but
happen.
today,
They don't want to know. Well, that's like that one. I think it was a Beavis and Butthead episode where they went to a women's group and they were screaming about how we want to put Y in the name because we're not men with 2 letters anymore.
Oh yeah, and people do that today now.
And people actually do stupid shit like that now when it was obviously making fun of like psychos and shit back then. Like people that were just unhinged, and it's like, well, now that's actually normal. That should be kind of alarming. Anyway.
But yeah, so anime
the 90s.
So
wait a minute. We need to kind of preface this with the ideas that kind of shaped the 90s here. One of which was the internet.
Yes.
Internet. Yeah, I mean, we could do a whole show on just that. So,
also,
you're on it now, listening to this, no doubt.
Also, if we're talking about Japan, the bubble economy kind of
bursted.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I mentioned that actually last night when we were kind of compiling notes. The 80s miracle, as it were,
Yep.
is now no longer. They've hit recession. So the OVA market took a bit of a hit.
Yep, and it's going to affect the anime market as a whole, as you'll see with at least one of the shows we're going to mention in this retrospective.
But at the same time, if I think you would agree, the otaku market grows because the otaku, when all the other things that like how if there's like hard power or like like the more things that Japan was usually known for in the 80s, like electronics and cars, kind of slowed down, but their entertainment stuff
started to take off. Yeah, and then you had like this. Then you had like the Sony Walkman and all that. So there was a lot of tech stuff still going on, but like it sort of went by the wayside a little bit.
Well, while all the other sectors of Japan's economy were falling, the otaku market was continued to grow throughout the recession.
We should also point out that video games took off big time too.
Yes.
Yeah, video games and anime based on video games.
Yeah, and a lot of it, I mean, it wouldn't be the first time it had come to the Western shores, but it started to pick up some steam. Yeah, and we'll get to that because that happened more on the late half of the 90s, really. But
right.
As far as the anime goes, the video games were already in full swing by that point.
Yeah.
No, but there was an emerging anime market in the early 90s with bringing.
Right. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, it wasn't at scale similar to how it is today, or even in the mid 2000s.
There's a couple of key points in the 90s when that really started to take off, and we'll cover that when we get there, because we're gonna basically go down the list here from 1990 to 1999 and kind of cover stuff, talk about influences, directors, and all this other kind of stuff.
Yes, indeed. So to start us out,
we're gonna
going
1990.
1990, Nadia, the Secret of Blue Water.
Yeah, here we have one of Gainax's works which is interesting because not only is it Gainax, but it's Ano.
Yep.
Also, their first TV series.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you can see some of the designs and all that, and how they will be incorporated kind of later in a show that we'll obviously get to.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, if you look at Nadia, it takes influence from like Jules Verne, which 20,000 Leagues Under
the Sea.
Around the World in 80 Days and shit like that.
Yep.
You also can still get this. It was part of ADV Films, but they went under and became Sentai. And we'll talk about that a little later too.
Actually,
but you can
carry on. Let me check something.
Okay, I think it's still available on Blu-ray now, but I think it's by Sentai now.
It is. Sentai does have the license.
Right. I'm not sure if it's still available, but they do have the license. So, if you want to check it out,
Sentai has the license, and if this webpage will load.
Well, Anyway, yeah. So this is early Anno. Well, not really exactly. Anno had been kind of around for a little while, but
yeah, Anno before Gainax actually did have a pretty impressive pedigree.
Right, but a lot of people know him for works that came from Gainax.
Yeah. You can also watch this on High Dive, as I just checked.
Okay. I was wondering if you were going to throw that out there.
Also, didn't I believe Streamline tried to release the show?
I can't remember. It might have been.
Because I remember I was listening to a dub, and they really gave him very the main boy a very accented voice.
Okay. Well, yeah, that was a thing they used to do in older dubs. They don't do as much now, too.
No.
Was try to put accentuations on voices that.
Yeah, that's
whether
too
they
much
needed them or
time
not.
That's too much time in
Right, and you gotta find somebody that can actually, pull it off, for that matter. Anyway, that's one of the 1990 ones that we were kind of covering. I honestly have only seen it a little bit.
I saw a tiny bit. It's got to be at least a decade and a half ago. I saw The Secret of Clearwater.
I've never seen it, but I know of it, and I know it's important. So
right, you will see some character design drafts almost that become Shinji Ikari and stuff like that if you really look. Beyond that,
Gainax does a lot is they're very self-referential.
They are, and we'll certainly point that out later on as well once we get into the 2000s and stuff.
Oh yeah.
We also have the same year. Record of Lodos War.
Yes, the OVA.
The OVA version, which is important because not only was it sort of the JR... It's not really even JRPGs, it's more Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's not even really... It was based off of the dude's D&D campaign.
Campaigns. Yeah, like notes or something, if I'm not mistaken, that they had taken down.
Yeah, it's basically an extended... They call them after-action reports, where people will recant what happened during their D&D game or their this RTS game or whatever, and tell a story with what happened inside the game.
Right, and I actually have seen this one.
I haven't seen this, but I know of it.
It ran for 13 episodes, the OVA at least.
Yes.
Between 90 and 91, and this was originally put out by let's see here. Who did put that out originally?
CPM.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. And Madhouse was the studio behind it. Yeah, it was put out by Central Park Media because they were in those fucking commercials.
Yeah, it was
those little infomercials that they used to run.
Yeah, it was on my MD Geist 2.
Right, that's what I was referring to. And I believe it's owned now by Funimation, if I'm not mistaken, at least according to this.
Yes,
yeah, licensed by them. So it's probably still easy to get, I'm sure. It's worth checking out if you like that sort of stuff. If you're not into fantasy or role-playing games, this would not be appealing to you. Not at all. It has elves. If that's I mean that's enough for me sometimes. So.
But does it have moms and a 2-hit multi-attacks?
No,
does not.
I can say with great confidence it does not. But it does have elves. and dark ones too.
All JRPG D&D campaigns must have
elves,
bombs, and the 2-hit multi-attacks.
Right. Anyway, it's good. It's really enjoyable, and you'll see this have a bit of an influence on shows that pop out later that follow a similar sword and sorcery kind of format. Maybe not. Yeah, he's not lying about that. There's actually some truth to that. And beyond that, though, all right. Anybody else got anything to share about Record of Flowdown War?
No,
not particularly. That's one I still need to finish because I own the OVA on DVD, the old CPM release.
So we're gonna go ahead and move to 1991. Now, 1991 is pretty interesting because we got some Gundam to deal with, and that's going to be
two Gundam and some of the best Gundam.
Yes. Okay. We're gonna go in order here. All right. Just to keep things organized. All right. The first one we're gonna look at is the OVA Gundam 0083 Stardust Memory.
Yes.
It's a really good one. We've mentioned it in this podcast many times.
Yes, indeed. So it sort of bridges the gap between Mobile Suit Gundam and Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, storyline-wise.
Right. It's, let's see here. It's 13 episodes. Obviously, it comes from Sunrise.
Naturally.
And a compilation movie.
Right.
And there was a movie that came out the next year, it looks like. And
I keep forgetting there's a movie for
I do too.
0083.
Me too. It's called The Last Blitz of Zeon.
Yeah.
Which not only do I love the name, but I also love the English version of the song. They put out Men of Destiny.
So
they changed it to Oblivion.
Here's something that I don't think is going to be controversial on this podcast, but might be controversial on a grander scale. I prefer the English versions of both the 0083 songs. Back to Paradise as opposed to The Winner and
no, I like The Winner. I'm sorry, man.
I really like Back to Paradise.
Okay,
I feel like Back to Paradise kind of has, it's like a more subdued.
Mm-hmm. I just think Oblivion is more interesting lyrically.
Oblivion is definitely preferred, but I think Back to Paradise is kind of like a more subdued Highway to the Danger Zone feel.
I thought the song was The Winner.
The Winner is the Japanese version of Back to Paradise.
All right. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
All four excellent songs. Don't get me wrong.
Right. We should point out a couple of things here real quick. One of which is that this actually did air on Adult Swim.
Yes, it did.
In 2002.
Yeah, that's how I first saw it.
Beyond that, you can get it from Right Stuff, Nozomi.
Now, see, I somehow managed to completely 100% miss all of the UC Gundam stuff when it aired on Toonami and Adult Swim.
I remember it was on, but I just didn't watch it when they did.
So I missed 0083. I missed Mobile Suit Gundam. I know they showed 8th MST, and I missed that.
We should point something out.
I did see G Gundam and Wing, which we're gonna talk about
a little later. Spoiler later.
Foreshadowing.
Those, yeah. Again, Gundam makes a frequent appearance in this in the 90s. It's pretty active.
There was more Gundam in the 90s than there was in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Not only that, but we should also point out something interesting here. We have the mechanical designs are by Shoji Kawamori.
Yes.
Of Macross fame.
Yes.
Which and the character designs have a more realistic look to them. They're less typically anime. They got kind of more slender kind of looks to them.
Well, yeah, that's something I've kind of noticed about the Gundam OVAs in particular.
They tend to be
especially
a little
contrasting with the original Zeta, Double Zeta, Mobile Suit Gundam sort of thing going
level
on.
of realism they put into them that's a little different. No, I'm not. That's not a judgment call. It's just sort of an observation.
Yeah, it's not a knock against the original Gundams, but
no.
There's definitely kind of sort of a more down to earth feel, especially when you get to stuff like, especially talking about stuff like 0080, stuff like 0083, stuff like Unicorn to an extent.
Right, and Stardust Memory is kind of odd in the sense that not only is there a lot of English versions of songs, and you also have Magic.
We can't not mention Magic.
Yeah, I guarantee they had no idea what those lyrics meant.
it may very well be the least appropriate song placement I've seen in an anime, because it just completely changes the context of that entire scene.
Like, what? Yeah, exactly.
Wait a second. I thought you two were fixing the Volvero. Why are we singing about not looking for no love affair?
Yeah,
am I missing something?
Now, what's weird about that is that scene would have somehow made more sense in the 80s. It just, because they had stuff like that.
Yeah, kinda.
But it's still awkward. Anyway, it's pretty good. I'm not saying it's my favorite, but it's high up there as far as an OVA goes, both because of the time and it looks really nice.
It's not my favorite, but if I were to go,
I'm not gonna ever turn it off if it's on.
Seriously, if I were to go one step away from my favorites as far as Gundam OVAs go, 080 is probably the next step. 083 is probably the next step.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to love a character like Annabelle Guy.
He's a champion.
I mean, really. And beyond that, though, there's also some more Gundam UC stuff the same year.
Yes, indeed.
We have Gundam F91. Now, we're going to have to talk a little bit about this one, the circumstances that created it, because it's kind of odd. Okay, this is a film.
Yes.
But it originally wasn't supposed to be a film.
No.
It was originally supposed to be a 50-some-odd episode TV series, and they drafted up about 12 or 13 to 14 actual episodes.
Yeah.
But they didn't go any further than that. And with those 14, they made it into a movie. Now, there's some confusion out there that they actually drafted up the whole thing, but they didn't. They only drafted up about, like I said, 13, 14 episodes or so, and they took from that and made the movie.
Right, so we're not talking about them trying to
cramming 50 episodes into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, even I was confused about that for a long time. So apparently that's actually what really happened. And this is Tamino. We should point that out.
Yes.
The guy, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who doesn't like robot animation. Seriously, he really said that. I find that amusing.
People go buck wild about that fake quote from Miyazaki, but we need to recognize the real OG.
He said
Yoshiyuki Tomino.
I don't particularly care for
robot animation. That's actually what he said. Right.
The Mobile Suit Gundam, the Mobile Suit Gundam guy said, you know what, I don't really care for robot ad. How many years was this after you put out Reconquista? Is when he said that is my question. Like, how many years was that between that and the last robot anime he put out? Because that's my question.
Okay. Obviously that Sunrise put this out.
Yes.
And you can get it with Nozomi at Right Stuff.
Yes, indeed.
It's also my favorite Gundam anything.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
It's actually
you don't hear that a lot.
Yeah, I don't care what anyone thinks. F91 is my favorite thing.
Oh wow,
I love the design work. People say, first off, I don't care. Like, yes, it was supposed to be a TV series. Let's not talk about what it was supposed to be. Let's talk about what it is on its own. It's one of the most straightforward things from Tomino.
Which is
gorgeous.
Which is saying something, because none of his stuff is ever straightforward, really. I mean, it's got a lot of weird quirks to it, usually. At least in my opinion. I mean, most of his stuff has these kind of oddball, almost surreal things going on in the background. Anyway, this one takes place a little further in the timeline. We're not going to get into too many details here.
Yeah, pretty far into the UC.
Right. This is even past the Unicorn.
Yeah, as Gundam stands, it's quite a while after the last events in that timeline. So as to basically make it not completely irrelevant, but mostly
after
irrelevant.
Char's counterattack.
Yeah. So after Char's counterattack, past a point where it's kind of not. It kind of doesn't really matter all that much what happened back then, because it's so far in the future. At least that's my understanding.
We'll go ahead and throw this out there. It's UC 0123.
Yep.
I was wondering how I was technically supposed to say that. I was like,
I usually just drop the 0 at that point.
Also, I fucking love Crossbone Vanguard.
Oh yeah.
I know people love. I know, including you, love Xeon. But Crossbone Vanguard's my favorite Gundam antagonist.
So I'm forgive my ignorance because I have it on my shelf but haven't watched it yet. Those are the people with the Denon Zon, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone with the Denon Zon is my boy. That is such a slick design. I'm so in love with the Denon Zon and the Denon
you're gonna love the Crossbone era in general.
Yeah. Also, those great names of Burgess Gyros.
Yeah, and then you have like Seabrook. That's great.
Yeah. Also the mobile suit. Vigna Gina.
I said Seabrook. I meant Seabook. My bad.
Yeah. Well, Seabook is the pilot for the F91.
And again, you got some oddball names. It's Tomino. Of course, you got weird names. I mean, nothing quite on the level of Shot Weapon, but but anyway, it's pretty good. I mean, it's one that a lot of people have disagreements about. Some people don't like it at all. I mean, a lot of those people have the charge against it that it was supposed to be a show, so they don't like it and all that kind of crap. I think you should just go in.
I kind of feel like that's irrelevant.
I think you should just go in with no pre expectations of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't think about what it could have been because nobody knows.
Yeah.
I
it could
also
have turned out to be a 50-episode show and sucked.
I also love the way the RGMs looked with like the bunny ears.
Yeah. And plus, you get to see a couple of interesting characters, and there are some references to the previous era of it.
Oh yeah, with the old mobile suits and such.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, if you're a UC nut like we are, you'll want to see it.
I also love that ending song.
Yeah.
And I was like, play, don't pray.
Yeah, right. So you've got that. And that's sort of the counterbalance.
It's kind of like a popcorn. I know it's kind of like the popcorn movie of Gundam, where it's like not a lot of character, not a lot of, but a lot of cool shit happening in a short amount of time.
I wasn't even going to say that. I was going to say it's sort of the counterweight to Stardust Memory because this takes place in the future rather than a bridge or in the past.
Good point.
And it's also done by the original guy, Tomino.
Right.
It's sort of, like I said, sort of balancing off the OVA, which is not at all like that.
It was actually the reunion of Tomino, Yaz, the character designer,
right,
and Kunio Kawara,
right,
the mecha designer.
The mecha designer, right. Apparently, I don't think this one was ever shown on TV.
No, it wasn't.
I didn't think so.
In fact, the first time I saw it, I had to buy a Hong Kong bootleg DVD.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Ooh.
Yep.
Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, I need to see this.
We got to stop fanboying over the Gundam now.
Okay.
Now we're going to move on to something I think everybody should see at least once.
Everybody should see this at least 5 times. Otaku no Video.
Yes.
Otaku no Video, yes. Here we go. This is considered a parody.
Well, I have a question for you, Anubis, because you had the Noteki memoirs.
Yes.
Do they mention about this?
I don't think they mentioned Otaku no Video. No.
Because I always wondered if this was a sort of counterpoint to the sort of hysteria about the Miyazaki, Tsutomu Miyazaki.
That wouldn't surprise me if they did. What really needs to happen is I need to go back and reread the Noteki memoirs around the 1991 era to see if this is mentioned in any big way, but I don't particularly recall them.
Of course, some people think that the live action segments are actually real. They're not.
No,
they're meant to be satire or like stereotypes of like.
There's a lot of things in this that you kind of have to take with a grain of salt.
Because there was oh yeah,
but we would basically call this a spoof in my.
Because there was the guy who was stealing cells.
Yeah.
Right.
And there was the guy who was playing the video game on the computer, and the game that was on the computer was something Gainax put out.
Yep.
Right. We should point that out. This is basically the history of Gainax and the people behind it.
This is a parody of Gainax and how Gainax came up.
It also, we should mention, has the Daikon, the 3 and 4 opening animations.
Yep.
Yeah.
That are featured in said OVA.
Also, Otaku Land, or was it like Otaku Land?
I think it was Otaku Land, yeah.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
It's supposed to be like some sort of Disneyland deal or something, right?
With the SDF one, with the one arm is the Yamato, and the other one is the Arcadia.
But we should point out that the obvious, really, you mentioned the live action scene, but we should point out that they mosaic that shit, and they had their voices, digitally altered.
They'll mosaic all the people. They mask all their voices. They actually did one dick move where they interviewed a gaijin.
Yeah.
And the guy is speaking English.
Right.
But then the like overdubbing of the Japanese interpreter and the subtitles are completely wrong. And what's the dick move about it is that guy thought it was an actual interview.
Right. This guy apparently, his name is Sean Hernandez.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is an actual name to the interview. We should point out.
Yeah. And all the people being interviewed are either Gynax staff themselves or friends of Gynax staff.
Yeah, it's a big inside joke as well.
Pretty sure one of them is Ano himself, as a matter of fact.
I would not be surprised, but yeah, this is pretty much a great inside joke. That's why it's essential to see it after you've seen some stuff.
Yes, I'm sure.
If you just came out of the ether and tried to watch it, I don't think you'd get it.
No. I mean, I'm probably the only one here that knows like what they were referencing Gavon, the Metal Hero show.
We should point out that Animego had it.
Animego has it.
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
And they have a Blu-ray of it.
I wasn't sure if they still technically had it or not.
They put out the VHS, they put out the DVD, and they put out the Blu-ray.
Okay.
Blu-ray is very nice, actually. I highly recommend it.
I do not have it yet, and I will eventually.
It's got like 3 different commentaries. It's got artwork. It's got a whole bunch of extra features. They did a real good job on it. Right,
and we should point out that there's actually just some interesting characters they have, like that they're sort of interviewing and whatnot.
One factor
I like
that
the gun otaku. The airsoft guy.
Of course you do. Don't you love? No, it's all about the Char helmet.
The guy with the Char helmet in his desk. So, I don't cosplay anymore. Why would I do that?
Hide. And then of course there's the hilarious thing about the pornography, where there's like, we're gonna beat the censorship.
Yeah, the guy made the glasses to try and cut the mosaics out.
Yeah, that's great.
I always thought it was interesting, like the sort of, because there was the girl that was with the guy, but then the girl left him and went with the other guy.
Oh yeah, so here's the story, which I find hilarious. So the dude is living a normal life and rekindles a friendship with an old buddy who turns out to be an otaku, and it introduces him to his whole otaku circle. And homeboy gets more and more deeper into the otaku culture, and except he has a girlfriend, and his girlfriend's like worried about him because he's been staying up late, he's looking kind of scruffy, he's putting on weight, and eventually she cheats on him and dumps him. And then dude, in the most spectacular fashion imaginable, says, you know what, fuck her, fuck society, fuck everything, I'm gonna be the greatest otaku imaginable.
Yeah, otaking.
And in the future, you see like the girl that he was with got cheated on, like leaves the guy that he was with.
So dude builds up this huge company and gets ousted in a hostile takeover by the bank, whose owner had married the girl who cheated on him. So then what happens is they make homeboy and the original dude he got into otaku stuff with make another huge company, buy out the original company, and the bitch who left homeboy leaves bank dude takes his daughter with him too, which is that's sort of poetic justice. Don't be out here trying to take over people's companies surreptitiously.
We should point out that before we kind of move on, that the hentai game that Gynax is actually messing with there is Cybernetic High School.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's actually it's supposed to be, I guess, Noriko from Gunbuster. Accordingly.
Mm.
Anyway,
I just remember the one girl with glasses. Of course you do, VC.
it's okay. So that's up for that. Let's move to 1992. Kind of squeeze in here. We're gonna have some fun with this one.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, 1992. Well,
VC discovers anime proper.
Technically, I'd seen some stuff, but I hadn't jumped in yet or really figured it out. So, but one thing that did come out and that's very infamous is La Blue Girl.
Yes.
Okay, where to start with this? First
I
off,
need to see this one someday.
First off, it's by Toshio Maeda, the same creator behind Demon Beast Invasion, Doji, and that. It's also one of the most, if not the most, infamous tentacle anime out there.
Completely banned in the UK.
Yeah, like they tried to put it out there once, and it's just like, nope. Anyway, it ran for, at least in the original form, it ran for, like, how many episodes did it actually run for?
It was 4?
Yeah, it was 4. I thought so. I was thinking it was 4 or 6. And you can get all of them still, although they are edited a little bit, unfortunately, because of something that... Do we really want to get into that? Anyway, it was originally released by Anime 18, which was Central Park Media's adult label.
Right.
Yeah.
Or imprint. Now it's held by Critical Mass Video. And that one is edited, I'm afraid. As far as I know. Because, like, the character Nin Nin, that little black mage looking dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that talks like... Well, at least in the dub, which is recommended to watch just for the lulz factor. It's very... Yeah, I can't even explain the ridiculousness. They got these really wonky voices. And Nin Nin just sounds like a bad cartoon villain. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like a bad Saturday morning, like, villain.
Oh, so probably like Orko from...
Yeah, it's
not a villain. So maybe like Skeletor.
Right. We should point out that 2 more would be released again.
Yeah.
A couple years later, under what's that? Shin Inju Gakuen Blue Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but they usually put them together with the other 4. Usually, as far as I know, because a couple years after that, in 1996, they had Lady Blue, which was 4 new ones.
Right.
All right, and that's kind of it. It would come back again in the 2000s. We'll cover that if we care to when we get to it.
I remember reading about like how, okay, because we all know about the censorship in anime and hentai.
Right.
There would be like the mosaic
certainly at the time.
Yeah, but when released here, it would be unmosaicked.
Yep.
But there wouldn't be really any detail
because it wasn't there to begin with.
Exactly.
Right.
It was just a fast way of, blurring it.
But it would make them look like younger than what? I mean, obviously, it's probably high school because anime. Mm-hmm. But of course, this being anime 18, you're in vocational.
Okay. Let's go ahead. I think we already mentioned that a couple times. They had this like weird intro that was kind of cool as a concept, except that they're blowing smoke up your ass.
Yeah, it's a giant lie.
Yeah, it's covering their asses
exactly
for a non-issue because,
What's interesting is you can actually get the source material now, if I'm not mistaken, like the manga. Yeah, it's published by Manga 18.
Aha.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know if they still have it.
Probably
or who does. Yeah,
everybody
I would imagine it is.
Everybody who's interested in Toshio Maeda should check out the interview we did with Anthony Bourdain.
Oh yeah, we should. Bourdain, yeah, the guy from
No
Yeah,
reservations.
A lot of stuff. Yeah.
right, but also that show, Parts Unknown.
Yeah, that was it. Because it's like, look at the underside of Japan, you know?
Yeah, it's well worth a good chuckle. And having seen the guy personally, he's very funny. He speaks pretty good English too.
Also, surprisingly normal.
Oh yeah. You would expect him to be like creepy or something like that. He's not at all. He's really funny, man.
Which is funny because a lot of you know this already.
He's published children's books and shit.
A lot of big time anime directors are a little off.
And oddly enough, like he's one of the most normal ones I've ever seen. Like he's not even as odd as Anno. You know.
You know, someone that like invented all this, like, yeah. You know,
but it was really just getting around stuff more than anything else. People,
getting around stuff. You know,
it wasn't really like they had a deep-seated love of cephalopods or something, you know. It was just sort of like, that's not technically a wiener.
Or, you know, quoting like, or probably like what those type of people would say, especially back then, a deep-seated like misogyny. And it's not really that either.
No. Okay, but we're gonna move along. La Blue Girl is historically important. It's the dub is very comical.
I'm
so
sure
it's worth going through it at least once just for the humor.
Yeah. I like the character designs.
Yeah, I do too. I think Miko is actually a great design. A lot of people don't like that big dopey ribbon, rather. And I've always liked it. I always thought it gave her kind of personality.
I'm always a fan of gigantic, unnecessary ribbons.
Yeah, I mean, that it's pink and it goes good with that sort of lavender hair color.
Yeah.
I like it, but that's just me. Now, on the flip side of this, from 1992, is Shoujo Shinshi Sailor Moon.
Yes.
Which is... Well, first off, if you've listened to this podcast, you've heard of Sailor Moon, I would hope.
Naturally.
Which is funny because I remember I knew a little bit about Sailor Moon before it actually came out here because they showed like on the TV news.
Oh, interesting. Well, here's the thing about Sailor Moon. Okay, first off, this ran for a long time.
Very.
You know, the original run was 46 episodes. It ran from 92 to 93.
Also, despite what you know, its fans, what you would think, it was intended for young girls.
Yeah, it's also one of the earlier magical type deals. I mean, certainly one of the bigger ones.
It's one of the first major magical girl shows where they're actually fighting.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get at because there was magical girls, especially in the 80s, but
there was
the emphasis on fighting and making it more. That's probably why one of the aspects where it appealed to boys and men too was
right.
Like sort of,
and another very obvious one,
doing the sort of like Sentai formula of like
because it's yes, and it's the 5 girls.
And you know the big bad sending in the minion.
Right. Yeah, it does take from that. We should point out it was created by Toei Animation.
Yep.
Which is also the reason why we ended up not having it for a while. It was in licensing hell for a while.
Also remembered when it came out here, Dateline had a thing.
I don't remember that.
And it's great. You can watch it on YouTube, I think.
I'll check that out. But to point out.
Oh, yeah.
To continue on, we should point out that not only did it run after that, but then you had its sequels like Sailor Moon R and S, Super S, and Stars.
Right.
The last one.
We're not going to cover all those. We're just kind of all encompassing.
Came out here.
Yeah, and we just got Stars. So, how this ran a couple times. It was on Cartoon Network for a while.
Well, no, first it was regular syndicated TV, and that's how I saw it.
Right, me too. But most people probably saw it from Cartoon Network.
Yeah, it was real big on Toonami.
Right.
It's actually probably one of the first proper anime I've ever seen.
Right. What you would end up doing is, what you would happen is you'd come home from school and it'd be on. Yeah. Like right afterwards, because they had that block, and then like Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff.
You'd come home from school, and if you're one of these people who had to wake up at like 6, it would be on then, and you could watch it then as well. Right.
Now it's held by Viz Media. We should point that out. But and the manga too, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Which is all available. We should point out though that the first Blu-ray for season 1 is it does have some issues with it. It's still worth getting because it's the best one that's out now, and it's a million times better than that one that A put out, which was really bad in terms of visual and audio.
The first season is the one I liked the most.
Me too, but I also really liked R.
The second one was good. Everything after that kind of like just...
I just couldn't get into the outer Senshi as much. And the thing is, I liked some of their designs.
Oh no, it's not that. It's not that aspect. It's just, it's like the original, like the it kind of got far removed from the original thing.
Premise and all that.
Yeah, the premise and like
I don't know. They just feel like they had more heart somehow. I maybe, and that's just me because I know of people that are fans of S, Super S, and whatnot. They're gonna be like, "Fuck you, man!"
That might be due to the directorial change.
That's very true. We should point
when R onward, I believe, was
Ikugawa.
Ikuhara.
Ikuhara, yeah, because it was Sato before that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that later on.
R onward, except for stars. And we will be mentioning Ikuhara later on because he's pretty pivotal in one of these anime we have on later on.
Yeah.
But BZ, I'm glad you pointed out the Super Sentai thing. I'd actually kind of not even really thought to say that. Because it's right, if you've seen like Beast King Go Lion and stuff, there are certain kind of Super Sentai qualities to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, especially in the like 1990, you had like that and Power Rangers in their height. Yeah. It's like, oh.
Yeah, that was big too here. And we should point out that this is quite successful here.
Oh yeah.
Even in its censored form when it originally came out.
It's still big now.
Yeah, and it's even bigger now. I mean, you can go to like regular stores and find stuff from it, you know?
Yeah.
I do all the time. It's well worth seeing. I've seen all of it. I only really care about the early first couple ones personally, but the movies are good too. I'll go ahead and throw them out there.
I've seen some of the movies. I actually saw the movies.
The movie is probably my favorite, but
the time that it was off the air, but before Cartoon Network.
Okay, yeah.
That brief
film. Right, and the thing is, it's got kind of a weird licensing history because didn't Pioneer have the movies at one point?
I think so. That's actually the interesting thing was that was also the first time I saw...
the movies in the show were not licensed by the same people for a long time.
That was the first time I saw it in Japanese rather than, the dub. So it's like, Luna's voice isn't an old woman's voice.
Wasn't Dragon Ball Z also kind of in the same, like...
Yes, and also
the movies were owned by somebody else or something like that.
Yeah,
it gets complicated, and there's a lot of this shit that goes on. So unless you got like a family tree or something with it, it's almost hard to kind of follow all of it.
Yeah.
In any case, it's very important. I mean, come on, it would be weird not to mention Sailor Moon on a night.
Yeah. Also, apparently, one of the theories is that's where the word moe comes from.
Right, because of the character Tomoe, Tomoe. Yeah, the Sailor Saturn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. She is cute.
I like her design.
Yeah, I always did too. Especially her like little spear scepter type deal. Anyhow, beyond that, we have this one's up right up Anubis's alley.
Yeah.
Tenchi Muyo Ryoki.
Yes. So there needs to be some explanation with Tenchi Muyo because it's deceptively complex. There are, as I understand it, 3 different continuities of the same universe going on with Tenchi Muyo. This is the original one.
So just like Pat Labor.
yeah, like Pat Labor, like Ghost in the Shell. This is the original one.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one that actually takes itself seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's where it gets kind of weird because if you tried to follow this without knowing that, you'd be lost as fuck.
I remember
back in the day when I watched it, I had no idea, and I thought that Tenchi Muyo led into Tenchi Universe, which led into Tenchi in Tokyo, and that's not the case.
And you're like, wait,
all.
What? Yeah.
I remember.
Actually, talk amongst yourselves.
This is actually this was on television as well. We should point out.
I remember seeing one of the movies on the Encore Action Channel.
Right, and they did feature this on Sci-Fi at one point too. If I'm
It
not
was
mistaken.
probably it was probably on the one of those.
I'm pretty sure. We should point out that this is kind of an example of a hard to follow one, just for the fact that, like you said, there's different continuities.
Yeah, I actually went and yanked my Tenchi Muyo boxes off of the shelf. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different continuities.
Right. It's more than... Now, the ones they showed on Toonami, which showed up a little later, it wasn't in the original runs or anything. It showed up just a little bit later. I can't remember what it replaced.
I don't remember what it replaced, but it was early. It was early on in Toonami's run.
Right, because wasn't it like taken off after like Reboot or something? I don't remember.
I don't quite remember. All I remember was this was my favorite Toonami show, this Intention Universe.
Right,
which is number one, it was just so different from what else was going on at the time, and number two, because it was one of my earliest, not my earliest exposure, but my earliest like looking at this and really liking it exposure to cute girl anime.
I'll give them credit for this. This was not a sure thing for them. This was not only different from the stuff they already were playing, but it doesn't really match with that stuff either, because it's very different from a style standpoint.
Exactly.
They would probably never do it now.
No, modern Toonami has no Tenchi Muyo equivalent.
Right. I don't know how well it did. I mean, I watched it, but I don't know.
So no, like putting on like two love rooms.
No,
Or something.
Well, they're not going to do that for another reason.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really, like I said, it's kind of odd because the show, like you said, only one of them takes themselves anywhere near being serious, really.
Yeah.
See, I know a lot of people like those people again really hate like the character of Tenchi because of that whole he's so plain and milquetoast.
Here's the thing: they didn't watch the original OVAs. They're probably going off the Tenchi universe, because Tenchi is actually kind of really a badass in the. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Tenchi Masaki in his final form is the most powerful character in anime.
Anyway, though, the other thing that was weird about this, besides the choice of this to be part of the block, I don't know how well it did, because I don't remember a whole lot of people talking about it, unfortunately.
I don't remember a whole lot of people talking about it, no, which was unfortunate, because, again, it was my favorite of the block. But
we should also point out there's a very interesting thing that a couple of people that worked on Bubblegum Crisis were on this.
Yep.
I believe that because AIC.
Right. Yeah. I don't think we mentioned that. This is one of theirs.
Yes.
Yeah. So
also technically still ongoing.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
there were a few OVAs put out, not real recently, but a couple years ago.
Right. A couple of little fun trivia bits here. One is that Ryoko was sort of fashioned after I Dream of Jeannie.
Yep.
Another one is that at least when they aired it here, they painted like really bad lingerie on them.
Yes, they did.
to avoid showing any boobage and whatnot. Because that would obviously freak people out.
They did that with another show we'll get into.
Right. Now, who has it now?
Funimation.
Funimation? Okay. I wasn't sure. I know somebody had it, but I wasn't sure who.
Yep.
Okay. It's one of those things where I'm kind of interested in picking some of this stuff up, and I just don't remember who has what anymore.
Yeah.
Because there was this weird thing that will be more applicable toward the end of the show where some companies start floundering.
Right.
But in any case, again, I don't remember who originally had it. It wasn't them, though.
It was Geneon / Pioneer.
Okay, yeah, I thought so.
And then when Funimation picked it up, they just kept the Geneon dub, which I quite like. People might have different opinions about that, and to be 100% fair, my perception is tainted by the fact that I watched this as a kid and still still have a connection to that old dub. But
don't freak out. I'm that way with a few of them too. Even if I know they're technically kind of wonky or bad.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying this one is, but I'm just saying in general. There's a few of them that I know on paper they're actually not very good, but I do have like this weird nostalgia about it. Anyway, it's really fun. It's kind of a little bit more brainy and expansive than your typical comedy harem stuff is.
It takes a lot of paying attention to the world building, because there's actually a very expansive world behind basically all of Tenchi Muyo, but especially the original OVA series. And
this,
if you're looking for this, you're gonna look. It comes in 2 parts, because you have the OVA collection, which is the originals that aired on Toonami, and then you have what's called as the release Tenchi Muyo Ryo-Oki, which are the more modern OVAs that are continuing on that series.
We should
but
also
the whole
point
thing
out...
officially is called Tenchi Muyo Ryo-Oki.
Okay, right.
They also they're also putting out some of the. I don't think they're the original, but I don't know for sure. But some of the light novels that the world is based off of.
Okay. Well, beyond that, though, we also should point out that as far as Tenchi Muyo goes, got tongue twisted again. You got it was also an interesting idea in the sense that you can look at if you fast forward a bit into the 2000s, you can see where a lot of harem tropes started popping up with them.
It's sort of the big, and not so much Tenchi Muyo Ryo-Oki, the OVA series, but you're gonna, when we talk about Tenchi Universe later on, you're gonna see a lot of, because
you have the main tropes. You have the main 6 girls that are like, you have Ryoko, of course, and of course you have Ayeka, who's sort of kind of Sun a bit, I guess you would say.
Yeah, she's tsundere, but...
And you have the token loli, which is,
Sasami.
Right. And, you have the police chick and, Miyoshi and so forth. And the mad scientist, Washu. Anyway.
Who factors more in the Tenchi universe as far as the harem thing goes. But anyway.
Right. Anyway, to move on, we're going to move on to 1993.
Yes.
All right, we got a couple things here that couldn't be more different. We have the wonderfully named The Irresponsible Captain Tyler.
Yes.
Yeah, this I've never seen, but I know of it.
So this is it's a space opera anime, kind of in the vein of, well, I say it's in the vein, but not really, kind of in the vein of Space Battleship Yamato.
Right. It's hard to explain. It is humor. There is a large humor streak.
It's absolutely humor. Dude,
yeah, it's funny.
Lazy ass scumbag dude basically lucks his way into
through life.
Yeah, through life, basically. Becomes a spaceship captain.
Like, yeah, a lot of this stuff happens completely in spite of the things he does.
Yeah.
We also should point out this was originally based off a light novel.
Yes.
That ran from 89, to 96, actually.
Wasn't this the one that you said was where the production committee started or something?
Yes. It's not,
which is another
not
reason
really
it was
where
important.
it started, but so after the 80s bubble burst, a lot of companies were they were more wary with their money and didn't want to go on and sponsor TV anime a whole lot.
We should also point out that the format here is 26 episodes, which is also something that would be happening a lot more.
Well, it happens a lot more, but doesn't really take off until later in the 90s.
But this is an early example of that.
What happened with Captain Tyler is companies decided they could get together, pool their resources, and more importantly, distribute the risk of putting out an anime. So instead of one company funding this show and then taking on all the risk if that show fails, a whole bunch of companies getting together, they're pooling their resources, and if the show fails, it doesn't hurt each company as much. So this is the first anime that got produced off of that paradigm of the production company business model.
If you want to check it out, you've got a couple options. Right Stuff has it.
Yes, indeed.
You can also see it on Stars, I think, as well.
I believe it's on YouTube. Let me check.
Beyond that, we should point out that hang on here, I lost my note here. Anyway, it also had people like King Records and VAP and all that in terms of being produced.
Right. Yeah. Like was pointed out, a whole bunch of companies get together and fund the production of this anime.
Right.
And that's a business model that's still going on today.
Yep.
And is basically ubiquitous at this point.
Right. And that's one of the main reasons we actually put it on the importance list. I mean, in terms of a show, it's a fun show, but I would say more for its circumstances, it's more important.
Yes.
Than the actual show itself. Okay.
Yeah, you can watch the whole last thing dubbed or subbed on Nozomi Entertainment's YouTube channel.
And I recommend you do.
It's very, very, very good.
It's very entertaining. The humor isn't exactly crude. It can be sometimes, but that's not its angle necessarily.
Right.
The humor comes more from the fact that he succeeds in spite of doing all the things wrong and just not paying attention and shit like that.
So basically, Inspector Gadget, but in space.
Yeah, kind of. That's funny you mention it that way.
That's not wrong.
So, on the flip side, we have Mobile Suit Victory Gundam.
Yes.
Which I just finished I just finished a couple months ago, and I actually that is one of my favorite Gundam TV series.
Right. Okay. Tomino is involved. I guess the success of F91 and whatnot.
Oh no, they dragged him to do this.
yeah. I was sort of being somewhat sarcastic. He was not in a good mood when he made this.
Don't buy this. Don't see this anime. It's bad.
Yeah, basically, it ran for 51 episodes, so that's pretty good. It's obviously Sunrise, and for the first time ever in the U.S., you can actually get it now.
Yeah.
Through legal means, at least.
Yeah.
Nozomi has it, and you can get it on Blu-ray, and I did.
More people need to see this one.
They do, because this is kind of one of the oddball ones. Not only is it really good, it's really dark too, just like Zeta. It takes place in UC 0153.
And here's the most important thing, not boring either, because
it's later on. Yeah, it's still in the UC, but it takes place far in the future. Well, far, at least at the time it was far. And it kind of has a scaled back look to it a little bit.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
But I actually like that about it.
That was my only main complaint was that it was 1993, but the animation looked older because it didn't have as much shading.
Right, and this was just kind of a look they had going, most likely on purpose.
Yeah, that was just it.
Right. It's very good. It's got a great story. It's probably not as well known as a lot of others because not only was it shown on television, but we didn't have it for a long time either.
Right.
What was the Zanskar has
Zanskar Empire? Yeah.
Has great designs.
Right, and again, it's far and away from the original story in terms of kind of what's going on.
So does the League Militaire.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. And then you have, again, we can't really get into it. It's a podcast in and of itself if we did.
No.
But if you like the UC, it's worth checking out. And if you're just curious, it's worth checking out too, because you can now. Without having to go look for bad subs or crappy visual content. Because some of this stuff, you could only get like Hong Kong bootlegs and shit like that.
Right.
And the visuals were not exactly good. When the subs were usually piss poor at best. So, and Tomino does not have a high opinion, but he doesn't have a high opinion of a lot of his stuff, so.
No.
So
He
definitely
doesn't
worth
have a high
checking out.
opinion of robot anime, and he makes robot anime. So, yeah. Who's to be believed?
Right, exactly. So, again, check it out. It's important because it was one of the last series he had done.
Yeah, he wouldn't direct until...
Again, for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so we leave you with that. We're moving to 1994. We got a couple here. Now, this first one is going to be a Anubis show.
It's one of my favorites, one of my all-time favorites. This is Macross Plus. Coming out of Studio Nue and Triangle Staff.
Too bitter.
Directed by Shoji Kawamori, and I believe
Shinichiro Watanabe.
The directorial debut, I believe, of Shinichiro Watanabe.
Yes. Right. Music was by Yoko Kanno.
In case you need...
Sorry.
The first appearance of the Shinichiro Watanabe Yoko Kanno collaboration. Right.
So if these names mean anything to you at all, you'll know why this is a big deal.
And as far as I'm concerned, still their best work.
Well, there you go. This was 4 episodes, OVA.
4 episodes and 1 film that's kind of basically a compilation of the 4 episodes.
Right, which was a thing that Japan usually likes to do with this sort of stuff. They're more into that than we usually are as a culture. Made these compilation movies and stuff. We also should point out that
the story behind this is interesting, actually.
Sure.
So, we had Macross in the 80s. Then Macross 2 came out. And
I like Mac. I really like Macross 2. Just vouching.
Macross 2 is... It was supposed to be the next installment.
Yeah.
And the reception from the people who did the original Macross was not warm.
No, because Kawamori wasn't.
So Kawamori got pissed. He retconned Macross 2 and set off to make what he would consider a true sequel to SDF Macross. So he took him and his team and went to Andrews Air Force Base and studied fighter jets. And we ended up with Macross Plus.
Indeed.
Macross Plus, it also made really, really excellent use of 3D CG, especially for the time.
Right. I was going to point out that this was a mix between traditional Cell and that.
Yeah.
And was actually done a lot better than a lot of others attempted it.
I tell people this is from 1994 and they don't believe me.
Yeah, I can see why. Because there's things that came out 10 years, not 10, although I guess 10. Yeah, 10 years later that still don't look that good.
I was like, it looks on par with Cowboy Bebop, and that comes 4 years afterward.
Yeah, and again, the CG is incorporated much better than a lot of later shows would be.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to those when they become pertinent. But anyway, yeah, if you like Macross, this is well worth talking about and well worth checking out. Both
excellent
because
soundtrack, as expected of Yoko Kanno.
Right, and again, kind of the original team coming back is probably the big selling point.
Yep.
And for Anubis, the fighter jets thing, I'm sure is a personal.
Dude, if you like fighter jets, watch Macross Plus. Because
there you go.
Listen, if you watch Macross Plus, I don't need to tell you that Kawamori et al. Went to Andrews Air Force Base. You can just tell they studied fighter jets just by the way the fighter jets are depicted in the show. Mm-hmm. It's excellent. They did an excellent job, and I've never seen Macross 2. If I saw it, I'd probably like it. But Macross Plus is just something completely different, and it stands to reason for me why a lot of people, especially Macross fans, have unreasonable expectations with regard to what Macross is supposed to be because they saw Macross Plus a while back. I should also point out that this is one of the Macross shows that Manga Entertainment, heroes at Manga Entertainment, are keeping the license for and continue renewing the license for to keep them away from Harmony Gold.
Which, if nothing else, you should applaud them for that. Anyway, the other big one that comes out this year is more Gundam.
Yes.
This one is Mobile Fighter G Gundam. This is important for a couple of reasons. This is the first one that's not part of the Universal Century timeline. This is what you would call a standalone series. It obviously comes from Sunrise, and you can pick it up from Nozomi. They have it now, and it's out there. This one actually aired on TV though too.
This is one of the shows that was big on Toonami. This is one of the 2 or so Gundam anime that I actually caught on Toonami back in the day.
I saw some of it on TV. I didn't see. But it is one I would like to check out the whole thing of.
It's different because it has that sort of. It's got some elements of it that are considered silly by some people.
What, like the dude and his girlfriend being on a horse in the mech that's also on a horse? Right,
just stuff like that, or like the weird stereotypes they have of nations and whatnot, which I'm sure now would piss a lot of.
Yeah, I knew about that in the 90s because I had a book with models in it.
Right. We should point out that there's actually some pretty cool like robots in this. Some of them are on a little more silly side, but like you said,
the designs are excellent, and it's, as far as alternate universe Gundam goes, it's probably still one of the most alternate universe as far as Gundam.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, Tamino, upon learning about it, basically just said, "Oh, I'm done with it." Didn't he say something basically like that?
No, I heard more. He picked the director is the guy that did stuff I forgot the name, but he did Giant Robo, the first 3 episodes of Get Rumble Armageddon.
Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense, actually.
Yes,
and I think I heard that Tomino picked that guy himself.
Well, we should also point out that this is actually, not only is it an alternate universe, but it also starts the kind of trend of model kits really starting to shoot off again, because they had multiple Gundams in each thing.
Right.
Now, rather than just usually one or whatever, or a replacement later in the said show. This is
a lot of
the commercialization of it definitely started here. I mean, in a more broad sense.
Well, it was building off from what was, but I will say there was a lot of, I since this is my expert, there was a lot of emphasis to make a lot of toys.
That's what I mean by that. Like model kits were being pushed a lot hard.
Not just not just model kits, but like actual figures.
Yeah, right. Posable action figures.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Construction.
But these things really, I mean, they've always been there, but they really took off around now because they weren't really restricted by the timeline of the original Universal Century. You could kind of just do whatever and it'd be self-contained.
Right.
And thus, it was marketed a lot probably heavier in terms of pure product instead of, which some people had a problem with, obviously. I personally think they're being somewhat disingenuous. It always had a product angle. Come on.
It was a toy commercial from the beginning. It's still a toy commercial. It was a toy commercial then. It's a toy commercial now. Deal with it. If you don't like the toys, don't buy the toys. But don't, like...
I should also mention...
Toys made Gundam. We don't get Gundam without the toys. Fucking deal with it.
The Gundam documentary that NHK World put out admitted, talking about the toys.
Now, G Gundam's one of the few I actually don't have. I actually still need to get it. I'm pretty much collecting most of them, and I don't really see no reason to not pick it up. It's just one I haven't yet.
Right.
It's just one of the ones that, it's not one of my favorites. I'll get it later, So, that's interesting because of both the timing and the idea that, okay, Gundam can still exist, but it doesn't have to be part of the story anymore necessarily. It can have its own kind of thing. And this will be really important soon.
Yeah.
In fact, next year, which we're going to get to now. 1995. This was a big year. Not only did a lot of stuff come out, but a lot of important stuff and outright stuff that changed the face of the medium.
Yes.
The the sarin gas attack.
Yes, by the what were the
Shinryuko.
Cult. Yeah, they were basically this cult that wanted to bring about Armageddon.
Yep.
And they thought they could hasten it along by engaging in terrorism and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. That actually is kind of the MO there. Anyway, and the big dude that ran it basically thought he was like some sort of Jeebus figure or something like that. I don't know. Like, it's all very weird. And it wasn't just like a bunch of homeless people or anything either. Like, there were people with PhDs that were in it and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very, very strange. Anyway, we're not going to get too far into that because this isn't really a political podcast, but it did happen this year, and it does have somewhat of a lingering influence on the medium a little bit in terms of some of these kind of apocalyptic themes that kind of show up.
Right.
That, but also the sort of scaling back of darker material, because
it's funny you say that after this next one we're going to talk about.
Because again, like I told you about, the Super Sentai show that came out that year was supposed to be much darker, but when that happened, they had to like scale it back.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's kind of get going now.
Yes.
Okay, the next one. Oh boy. Cool Devices. Oh boy. Cool Devices is basically the 90s version of Cream Lemon. Not in content necessarily, but in the idea of a group of people making various facets of hentai, really,
right,
under a single kind of name. This originally, I can't remember who originally put it out, but I know Critical Mass has it now. All right, and these were all released
Anime 18. I'm just gonna assume.
I don't seem to remember that. I think it was somebody else.
Maybe Kitty Media.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. I'd have to look to be 100% sure, but I should mention that there was 11 that were made, and they came out between 95 and 97. Okay, and there was a large focus on fetish and BDSM themes in these.
Right.
A lot of that. And it was pretty extreme compared to a lot of the stuff at the time. It had a couple of interesting points in it. One of which was, they call them operations. They don't call them episodes or whatever. They call them operations. The wacky doctor's game. No. Specifically, one that needs to be pointed out is Operation 7, called Yellow Star. Now, the reason this needs to be pointed out is because it can be seen somewhat as a precursor to Kite.
Right.
Which we'll mention a little later. And that was a pretty big deal. And artistically, it's probably the best one. In terms of kinks, it might not be, but...
I like that one, and I also like the one, Kirare.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, what about it?
No, I'm just saying, I liked that episode too.
Okay. And again, they had some... If you want to talk about the extremeness of it, you definitely want to watch the Seek ones from Operation 5 and 6. Those are the ones... Let's just say electrocution and shit happens. If I'm not mistaken. If I'm remembering right, anyway.
Yeah.
But we should point out that these are not continuous in terms of stories. They're separate. They're just kind of their own thing.
Right.
Except for the Seek ones. Those ones obviously are connected. And same with the Slave Warrior Maya. But from a conceptual standpoint, it's similar to Cream Lemon in the sense that it's a group of talent kind of pooled together for the project. And based on that, some of them look and come across a lot better than others. I mean, just by the very nature of what it is.
Oh, okay. Operation 4, that's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, Kirei. Okay. Yeah.
That's the one I liked. That was the other one I liked.
Yeah. Okay. It's worth seeing if you're into it, if just the history of it, or if you're just curious and want to disturb yourself, because some of these actually are pretty messed up. It's not for the faint of heart, definitely not.
Yeah, definitely fits that sort of 90s thing overall, just being darker and edgier.
It does. It really does. There's some wacky shit in these. And again, if it's your thing, it's worth checking out. We should point out that a lot of the English there actually are dubs of this, and they're pretty funny because some of them have obviously fake names. You know what I mean?
All right.
That I'm pretty sure are euphemisms.
Right.
Yeah, like Seamus Lawless doesn't really sound like a real person there. I mean, sorry if you are, but that does not sound like a real name. Anyway, beyond that, let's move along. So we're not focusing on that, scaring people off. Ghost in the Shell.
Yes,
Okay.
the original 1995 film.
Yes. This did very well.
This was very, like, the hype for this was pretty big here.
It was.
Because, for one, the Ghost in the Shell manga was very big here already.
Right, which is very different from this movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Just gonna throw that out there in case you're a manga fan that never bothered to watch the movie.
Similarly to the Tenchi franchise, the Ghost in the Shell, and the Pat Labor franchise, the Ghost in the Shell franchise is basically different continuities.
Also, that live-action movie, which wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Right.
But it mostly takes from this movie.
Right.
It uses this as its jump board.
Exactly. As I say with the live-action movie, it's not a bad movie, but is easily the least good work of Ghost in the Shell media.
Also, I knew they were going to dumb down the sort of hidden, the sort of messages of it.
Oh, of course.
Right. We should point out that despite being created by Shiro, the movie is pretty much Oshi's baby.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything.
Which is why it's different and weird compared to the manga.
Yep.
He's very much one of those kind of artsy types that loves to make things in his own image, sort of.
You'll remember from a previous episode of this podcast our discussion of Angel's Egg.
Yeah, same guy. Yeah, this was from Production IG, so it looks great.
It looks so nice.
Even now, as a 1995 film, it still looks very impressive.
Hit up the Blu-ray. It looks so nice.
It's very, very good. It's a good movie. Even it's a good concept. It's a neat world they create. Really,
the best thing about Ghost in the Shell is the world building.
Because it takes place in the future, but not so far that it's not plausible to. Like a lot of these ideas we're just beginning to really play with now, like some of this AI stuff.
Yep.
And things like that. But obviously in about 20, 30 years, it'll be further along. And that's kind of what they had in mind when they came up with this, I have a feeling. But instead of that, they kind of focus in on the crime aspect of it, which is an interesting idea. Like, they establish all this technical stuff and what kind of crimes would happen with this stuff being normal.
Kind of like the way Pat Labor does, where they establish a world where giant robots are ubiquitous, and now we have to think about what kind of crimes are people going to commit with giant robots, and how are people going to fight those crimes. So Ghost in the Shell says, okay, we have a world where
you can literally plug into people.
Yeah, people are now networked on an internet level. People are going to commit crimes using that, and what are people going to do to fight those?
Stuff like hacking and shit like that. Really cool stuff, and really ahead of its time. Really, I mean, if you think about it, and a lot of the stuff, I mean, this beats The Matrix out.
Yeah.
I mean,
The Matrix was inspired by this.
Oh, absolutely. Even if they didn't say so, you would know, just from seeing it. It's really good. If you haven't seen it yet, make do with that.
All right, VZ. Back when I originally acquired the Ghost in the Shell Blu-ray, you mentioned that there's a release to avoid. Which one is that?
Whatever one is out now.
You got to be a little more specific than that.
What a riveting explanation. That helps us and our listeners a whole lot. I can go and get the one I have, which is good. And I can tell people about that.
Well, what's the one you have?
Stand By.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he's doing that. We should point out that James Cameron also, I believe, liked this movie a lot. The guy behind the Terminator movies and Avatar and all that. Titanic?
I have the manga entertainment release, Blu-ray release.
Okay.
Okay.
25th anniversary edition.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the one that they said was. I thought that was the one that they said was bad here.
Oh, well, depends on what level of bad, because I watched it and it was okay. I didn't see anything wrong with it.
Hold on, I will post it in the thing.
Well, we need to move along, though.
Yes.
I'm afraid. Anyway, we'll discuss this in the after show.
Okay, the bad subtitles is why.
Oh.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Anyway, the next one that comes out, Gundam returns again with a really big one. Maybe not personally so much, but in terms of popularity, this one was a big one.
It was massive in the U.S. We're talking about Mobile Suit Gundam Wing.
Or as they called it in Japan, New Mobile Gundam Wing.
I actually really like that title. I prefer the Japanese title.
I do too. I don't know why. Anyway, this is interesting because it follows G Gundam. I think it literally did, didn't it? After that ended, this one showed up.
Yes.
Yeah. And it also has somewhat of that Super Sentai thing because you have 5 boys.
Yep.
And they all have their own Gundams. And I'm not going to get too
great design work.
Excellent soundtrack.
The actual show for me is very boring.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I never had that problem with it.
I cannot get enough of seeing Zex Marquise take down the most powerful weapon known to man in a toilet paper Zaku.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, but did it seemingly with such ease.
Oh, yeah.
Just like, I think, all right, it sank in the JAP part of the... Yeah.
Yeah, so Gundam Wing... The reason Gundam Wing is so important, quite frankly, is because it was the first Gundam to air on Toonami.
Right.
So this was a lot of people's introduction to Gundam as a franchise.
Absolutely. And not only that, but it also managed to pull in a lot of female, which was... It happened before, but probably not as much in the U.S.
Right.
In Japan, the first one actually did pretty well in that department, oddly enough. But this one I'm talking about specifically over here. It did have sort of a Fujoshi kind of bait quality to it that brought a lot of them in there. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it did. And beyond that, you also had... We're not going to get into this later, but they also had some OVAs that were repackaged as a movie, too, called Endless Waltz.
Endless Waltz.
And if you pick it up, you can watch it either way, actually, if you pick up the set. As an OVA or a movie, if I'm not mistaken. And you can, of course, get it from Right Stuff because it's, as always, a Sunrise release.
Yes, indeed.
I've always liked it myself. First off, I can't get enough of a lot of the musical. That's one of the things I actually like about the alternate universes more than the UC stuff. I think the music's a lot more vibrant in a way. It has more of a flair to it. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's just more orchestrated.
I can say that with Gundam Wing specifically, but otherwise, I really do like a lot of the music in the UC stuff, both the TV series and the OVAs.
Well, I think it's fitting more than it jumps out as much. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Whereas, like, music from this one has, like, fucking horn sections and shit, In any case, if you're listening to this and you're anywhere near any of the ages of... You've probably seen this or remember this at some point. I remember a lot of the bumpers for it, if you guys do.
Oh, yeah. All those old Toonami bumpers?
Yeah, because remember, it's like the year is after Colony 195.
Yeah.
Operation Meteor. I still get a smirk when I hear that. Like and it is the dub. I do have somewhat of a fondness for that.
I do. This is another one where I don't really care how well the dub stands up today. I'll still watch it happily. Especially the end of the first episode where Hiroyui wipes the tear from Homegirl's eyes and then tells her that he's going to murder her.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, that and just sort of like, just goes away then, just walks off. It was pretty well done. as well done as anything like that could be at the time, given the way we treated a lot of this stuff. The narration was fantastic.
Yes.
It's still holds up pretty well. Some of the characters don't quite work as well as far as the dub goes, but that's a personal preference. Anyway, it was a big deal. Everybody remembers it, and rightfully so.
Yes.
Now the next one, oh boy.
This is a doozy.
Yeah.
There's no avoiding talking about this.
No. And it's timely, really, to actually be talking about it. Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yes.
Okay. VZ interrupting the name.
So, created by Gainax.
But you knew that.
But, yeah.
And Anno, of course.
Directed by Hideki Anno.
Right. Now, this one's went through some interesting licensing stuff, too, we should point out. Originally, ADV had this flagship title for a long time.
Yes.
Eventually, they lost it, basically, not only when the license ran out, but when they basically folded and became restructured into Sentai, if I'm not mistaken. And then it lied in limbo for a long time.
It was in licensing limbo for quite a while. In the meantime, Funimation had acquired the rights to the Rebuild movies, which, not going to get into it, but they're a series of reimaginings. I don't even know what to consider them.
Reboots. It's hard to say.
I don't even call it a reboot. Reimagining is a good term for it.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, a series of reimaginings of the Evangelion story. So Funimation had those rights, but not the rights to the television series.
Or the films, which would come later.
Or, yes.
Just the radio.
Exactly.
Canonical films, right.
So the license would remain in limbo with Funimation...
And other people kind of vying for it, really.
Well, we don't know if they're vying for it. We don't know if... my theory is Funimation was waiting for them to sweeten the pot. But I don't know.
And they never did.
Clearly, if my theory is correct, they never did. Funimation never jumped on it. And Netflix came in and some decision maker at Netflix heard from some intern that Evangelion is one of the greatest anime of all time, and because Netflix is getting in on anime, decided to get that license, because very curiously nobody was jumping on that license.
For real. Talk about printing money.
Well, it is an expensive license.
That's the only real main reason I can think of.
It's also one of the...
Hold on.
The licensing holders in Japan know what they have.
Hold on.
Go on.
The movie, the which we'll get into later, was licensed by Manga Entertainment.
Yes.
Because they had the money to license that.
Yes. What I'm saying is...
Which we should point out is also in limbo. Or it was for a long time, because when that ran out, you couldn't get it anywhere.
Right. It's been out of print for a long time. But we'll get to that. We're talking about the TV series.
We should also point out that Netflix has the worldwide streaming license now.
Oh, yeah.
So that's... Yep. So there you go. We should also point out that some people have some problems with that because of the way they handled the outros. With the licensing of the music. Well,
the Funimation general manager was real salty when Netflix got the license, but he, again, if my theory is correct, maybe he should have jumped on that license, and maybe a whole lot of people, maybe even myself, would be a lot happier with the Modern Evangelion re-release if they had done that, but they didn't.
So we should point out that not only does it come smack dab in the middle of the decade, but anime changes after this comes out.
Yeah. A lot of very fundamental changes that going forward in anime as a medium
happen here.
Yeah, have roots in Evangelion.
The character design is a big one.
Yeah.
You see a lot more... I don't want to call them simple, because that makes it sound like they've made something complex into a...
I would say sharper.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Sharper. They're like character faces and things like that. They're less rounded a little bit. I would say, and the eyes kind of have that I mean, when we think of anime eyes, I always think of Sailor Moon. That's like the first place I go.
Also, really, really thin waists.
And their noses shrink too. I mean, like you'll notice
their noses get pointy.
Well, yeah, but they look more distinctly different than they did prior.
Right.
Not all of them, of course, but in terms of general design trends. Same with you also started to have a little bit more realistic features. Not a whole lot. That will be a little bit later.
Yeah.
And more of a 2000s thing, and certainly by now. You still have kind of the wacky hair and the strange colored hair and things like that, which still exists, but they've toned that down in recent times.
It was a lot more subdued in Evangelion. Like, compare Evangelion to Tenchi Muyo.
Right. I mean, like, these are all real hairstyles and things like that, you know, for the most part.
These are all real hairstyles. These are not
also the great debate,
but relatively more subdued hair colors.
Also, the great debate of the era, which is it's the Gilligan. It's the Ginger and Marianne of the era. Ray or Asuka?
No, that's not really that, but okay. All right.
In a little bit.
No, because nobody talks about Gilligan's Island.
No, but it used to be like a thing where. Never mind. I'm terrible.
Oh yeah, it did start the Ray versus Asuka debate that's still somehow going on because people still haven't noticed.
That's funny.
Yeah, people still haven't realized that Asuka's the best.
Oh, ow. Or you could be like me and be more Cake Misato type.
Oh yeah.
Or
the people
like
who are
me.
the Nintendo Wii of the Ray versus Asuka discussion, who don't fight.
Or be like me and choose Mari.
Yeah, but that doesn't count.
Yeah, she doesn't exist. She doesn't exist, VZ. This is a TV series.
So we should point out that a lot of these people, though, would go on to continuously pop up in the medium for years to come here.
Of course.
Besides Anno, even. We should also point out that this almost got canceled at one point because it was so violent.
Yeah.
No, actually, the violent, but you know the part that got like really in trouble. It's not the violent part. It's the part when Misato was having sex.
Right, which is weird because that's not graphic.
No, but
right,
it's still there.
Controversy followed this show for numerous reasons, whether it be the ending, which we're not going to get into because. Right. Spoiler, but also because
you mean you haven't seen the ending?
Yeah, we're trying our best not to go those routes during these things. Beyond that, you have obviously this wasn't the first time this happened, but it certainly had a profound influence on everything. The whole psychological element.
Yeah.
You started to see that more in anime as a general feature than just occasionally in sci-fi.
There's a term called post-Evangelion anime, which refers to anime that came out in the wake of Evangelion that tries to
kind of has that Freudian kind of vibe to it.
A more like psychological, philosophical approach rather than more action-based or more...
Which, I'll go ahead and throw one out that everybody compares, which is like Razafan, which came later. We're not going to get into that, but this is an example.
We've actually got a couple post-Evangelion anime coming up later in the list.
Yeah, so there you go. Anyway, there's a lot of other things that really pushed this forward. First off, merchandise for this was just completely off the fucking grid. Yep. I mean, it was...
Well, no. At the time, it was actually very slow going.
That's not my point.
At the time, but... We're still seeing Evangelion figures out today.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, dojins and stuff are still made now, even.
Oh, no, yeah, dojins. But I'm talking about, like, official figures and model kits.
Oh, yeah. I'm just talking about just general, like, just sort of a generalized thing, like T-shirts, everything.
By the way, trivia. Who made the first Ava toys?
I would have no idea. I'm not really a toy guy.
That's difficult.
Okay.
I want to guess, but I don't want to be wrong.
Think of the movie 1 Hour Photo.
Yeah, that's not going to help.
Shit.
Yeah,
Kyoto?
yes, that's a company.
No,
No.
not Kyoto.
Where's that
Well, in
fail
that case,
horn?
yeah, where
Sega.
is the Sega?
Sega.
Okay,
yeah.
that doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me.
Yeah, did they
They
make
did
the
the model kits, but not the.
did they make the crane prizes there?
They didn't have
Type things for
crane
them?
prizes.
They didn't? Okay. I wasn't sure.
Because
Like
I
I said,
know
They didn't even have They didn't even have, Asuka and Rei figures.
Well, the
Until,
thing
like-
is, the thing about that is, you're right. It was probably slow going at first, but once it did take off, then the kind of wheels started moving.
once
for
people
that.
realized there was a market for it. And
Right.
and the Sega thing doesn't surprise me because it wasn't either there were some kind of sponsor, weren't they some involved in the production on some level?
Well, I do know it shows
seem to
Asuka
believe-
playing a Sega.
That's kind of what I'm talking about.
That's
Right.
You're probably right. And
Product
also there was a
placement.
game. There was a game on the Sega Saturn.
Yeah.
There
And
was
a game.
an N64 game too, wasn't
Yes,
it?
Yes.
that one I
Yes.
actually played at a convention.
There you go. I mean, what is there more to say about Evangelion? We could do a show on it.
Excellent music by Shiosaki Sue.
Yes, it's actually one of the few that I actually have the soundtrack for.
It also there were a few anime of this length before, but this really put on the map
Solidified
the
26,
the mid-length 26
alpha-
episode series.
the alphabet number, as I like to call it, or the half year,
Right.
half week. Yeah. Anyway, this
Also
is
Christian references in anime.
Christian references that were originally there because they looked cool, but then everyone
They were
started
there
using them for real.
because it was an aesthetic. It was a thing to just.
yeah. There was
terminology.
anybody who says otherwise is kind of bullshitting themselves at
Yep.
this point. Anyway, again, we can drag that on forever if we don't move past it, and don't make us do that.
So?
as important as it is,
So let's move past it. We're talking
to the
about
last one.
Tenchi Universe 1995.
Now, my knowledge of Tenchi Universe is a little less than yours, I'm sure, because I haven't seen that in a long time.
Now that was a TV series, right?
This is the
Yes.
TV series that kind of accompanies the original Tenchi Muyo OVAs, but takes place in a different universe, takes place in a different continuity.
Right, because the personalities are a little bit different for some of these characters.
Yes, it's a lot.
What was the one that was considered the bad one? Although you might be.
That depends on who you ask.
That
that
depends on who you
Tokyo?
ask, but you're probably talking about Tenchi in Tokyo if you're talking about the ones that aired on Toonami,
Okay.
Like a good example of
which itself is part of a different continuity.
we should point out that a perfect example of a character that's different from continuity to continuity is Kagato.
Yeah,
Just I'm not gonna say why. Again, there's lots of spoilers and stuff, but just trust me.
well, just generally speaking, Tenchi Universe is focusing a lot more on the wacky zany harem aspect than the
Right.
actual serious sci-fi with world
Did this
building
one air
aspect.
on Toonami or not?
Yeah, this is
Yes,
the
yes,
second
it
one
did.
that aired on Toonami after
We should
the
point out
original
again,
OVA.
AIC still had this. They're the ones who put it out.
Yes,
uh,
not AIC. AIC produced it. AIC produced all of Tenchi Muyo, if I'm not mistaken.
This
Right.
became, when people think of like what 90s character designs.
This is a good template for that, really.
This is
because-
what I think when I think of 90s anime character designs.
Because AIC put out so much stuff with that
Right.
character designer.
Yeah.
We should point out that it was originally licensed, and Funimation, of course, has it now.
Yeah.
Because they rescued pretty much almost everything from them, didn't they?
And I
Genie
believe
on,
they
pretty much?
licensed the entire franchise.
Right.
So
We should
and
point,
as with the original Tenchi OVAs, they Genion / Pioneer had the dub that they used
Right.
in Toonami, and Funimation preserved that dub.
yes. So you're not getting a new dub, just in case you're like a collector or something
Yeah.
and you want to know what's different about it. Nothing really.
It's basically the old show you watched on Toonami.
It's basically if you don't have it, get it now, type of deal.
Yeah. Here's coming from the guy who's not buying Funimation releases. I actually highly recommend this release.
Yeah. And again, it really depends on how much you like Tenchi franchise, though.
Yeah, exactly.
More than anything else.
And realistically, Tenchi Universe is where you start to see a lot of the familiar tropes you're going to see in the early to mid 2000s with a lot of the mid-level harem romance comedy shows that come out then.
Right, that's actually one of your bigger influences in that, or it informs it more so than most others, I would say.
Yeah, you start to see a lot of the, okay, we got a dude and a harem, and then every episode is just, here's this weird situation, here's that weird situation, and all the characters just play off of each other. And nothing ever really happens to advance any sort of serious plot.
Right.
Outside of a couple episodes. So that whole formula was not started, but Tenchi Muyo did put it on the map to some extent. Tenchi Universe.
Specifically.
Here's what pisses me off about the Tenchi series. So, in America, we call the original OVA series Tenchi Muyo. We call that Tenchi Muyo.
Mm-hmm.
We call the OVAs that continue that came later in the 2000s, 2010s, Tenchi Muyo Ryo-Oki.
Whereas the whole thing is supposed to be called that.
In Japan, the whole thing is Tenchi Muyo Ryo-Oki from the beginning. Now we call the TV series Tenchi Universe. In Japan, that's just called Tenchi Muyo.
Right. We're going to get into some of that real soon with another thing, too. So, that I'll pop up.
Weren't there movies?
Yes, there were. And as
some of them were on TV as well.
Because that's what I remember seeing on, like, the Encore.
Sci-fi or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got Tenchi Muyo in Love and Tenchi Muyo in Love 2, and those are both part of the Tenchi Universe continuity.
Right.
It's actually funny, like, they understand that this franchise is convoluted and has multiple continuities, and it can be very confusing if you don't have a guide. So on the backs of some of these releases, they actually map out the universe.
Kind of give you
and give you a "you are here" pointing to the series you're holding in your hand.
That's funny. Okay, so to continue on, we're gonna go to 1996. We got a couple here. All right, we're gonna start off with some Gundam.
Yes.
Because
more Gundam.
More Gundam. Now, after Wing, we had After War Gundam X, which was a standalone alternate universe.
It's an alternate universe, but it's unique.
Still based off of the original one.
Exactly.
That's the weirdest thing.
It's kind of coming off of a post-apocalyptic look at the universe.
I'll just give it kind of a quick, not really a spoiler. Just kind of.
I haven't seen this one, but you could go ahead.
Well, right. It's not really a spoiler. It's basically a synopsis here. Basically, it says that, well, what would happen if they didn't just drop a single colony, but just dropped a litter of them? And what would happen to the Earth, and what would it look like, and all this other stuff. So it's post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
It also has, it's by Sunrise, of course, like they all are. It's interesting in the sense that this is the only, as far as I know, alternate universe that Tomino actually even likes. It's the only one that he's been on record that says he actually likes.
I think I've heard that somewhere. That said, he also made Reconquista, which, to be fair, he might also just not like that one either. It's Tomino. Anything he says is a crapshoot.
Well, right. He's doing the movies.
Right.
He's doing the movie compilations, which is going to be 5 of them.
Wow. We should point out that there were 39 episodes of this, but it was supposed to, much like the original Gun, that it's actually somewhat loosely based on, at least as a premise, of their, colony drops and whatnot.
Right.
But it got canceled just like the original one did, and they extended it to basically finish it up. And just recently, we've actually got it.
Yes.
It's another one that, like, you didn't get to see outside of, like, fan subs or Hong Kong bootlegs like me. We got the DVDs just recently of it, and I personally like it a lot. I think it's one of the underrated ones, and I even have a cell from it.
Oh.
From the main female character, Tifa Adil. I'm not going to say how much it was. That's nobody's business. But I should point out that this was also one of the last ones that was done purely in the old style. Like that, this was before CG and whatnot. This was still cell animated, but it's also one of the last ones that was.
We're actually going to talk about the last one that was in this episode.
We will, but this is one of them. It's not the last one, but it was one of them, which is why I have a cell from it. As for how well it did, not so great, because it was following off of Gundam Wing and Endless Waltz and all that.
Right.
So it had a tall order. This one didn't show it for us at all. We didn't get it on TV or anything like that. We didn't get it, period, for a long time. You can just now get it. There's also some manga and related things to it and stuff like that. But again, as far as reception goes, it did okay, but not so good in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
It's needless to say, it had a mixed thing to it. I personally have always liked it. I mean, I'm just that big of a fan. I don't know. It's pretty bleak though. I'll go ahead and throw that out there.
Well, yeah, it's a post-apocalypse.
Well, yeah, but even for Gundam, this is definitely pretty bleak. Anyway, on the flip side of that though, you go back to the original timeline with 8th MS Team.
Yes. This is probably my favorite Gundam OVA.
Yeah, it's up there. The nice thing about this one is not only does it take place during the original timeline, but it takes place during the original actual show.
Yeah, you actually see events of the original show unfold in the background during the show.
Right, like if you watch the first episode, you see Giren's funeral speech.
Yep.
Put it around episode 12, 13 or so.
Yes.
Not my favorite Gundam OVA, but does have some nice design. It does have some great design work.
Oh, the design work on this show is just exquisite.
And again, it's Sunrise. Nozomi Wright stuff has it.
Yep.
It's easy to get. It also had a compilation film called Miller's Report.
Yep.
Just to throw that out there. And I should also point out that besides taking place during it, it's nice to see like some of the original mobile suits and stuff done with much better budget.
Mm-hmm.
Like be able to see like a classic Zaku and things like that because they were still being used because this is that part of the war still.
Yeah. So the whole conceit behind 8th MS Team is a lot of Gundam combat just generally, especially as far as the Universal Century is concerned, takes place in space.
This one does not so much.
This one, there's a space battle in like the first episode, but otherwise
it's largely terrestrial.
We're on the ground in the jungle. It's basically Gundam Vietnam.
Yes, Vietnam is very much an apt comparison here.
So you're in because
it's Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
It's not really completely made clear beyond that.
Yeah.
It's just Southeast Asia somewhere, like lagoons somewhere.
But you get really ground level with the combat in 8th MS Team.
Everything down to like, paint and everything else. I mean, just, and it's interesting in the sense that, I mean, it really does have that MASH-like quality to it.
Yeah.
I mean, but Gundamized, is it? This one did show on TV, if I'm not mistaken.
This one showed on Toonami. I missed it during its original run.
Yes, it did.
Right, I thought so. And we should also point out that the direction by it was interesting because it got split in half by 2 different directors because of illness, right?
No, the guy died.
Okay, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. He got ill and then he died, right? And it kind of like threw everything off to where they had to get another person in there to finish it.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
The very, very last episode of this is actually pretty peculiar in that it came out several years after.
Well, we should point out that it aired in 1996, but it didn't finish until 99. Technically, it has 12 episodes, and not only that, but there was a weird thing that came out not that long ago too. There was that little pincer attack thing.
Yeah, Battle in 3 Dimensions, which is basically just it's like a 10-minute one shot of
commercial wink or whatever. Hey, remember this?
Yeah. Hey, here's a battle from sometime in the 8th MSTM timeline.
See, that I didn't see. Was it animated normally or?
Yeah. As far as I remember.
Yeah, it's a regular episode.
It's almost like it's almost just like a commercial.
Yeah, it's worth watching because it's like it's not gonna waste your time. It's very good.
But there's so little of it, it just kind of pisses you off a little bit.
Yeah, it's like you're expecting more. Like, damn it, it's been years since 8th MS Team. You're gonna tease me like this?
Yeah, that's not funny. The next one, okay, this was a personal favorite. Rurouni Kenshin.
Yes.
This one's interesting.
I only seen bits. I never really got into this.
It kind of falls in the shonen realm, but not quite, in the sense that it's pretty long. It's 90 some odd episodes.
Also, the author turned out to be a.
Yeah, that's well beyond the scope of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Talk about the show, VC.
Yeah.
Well, I've only seen teensy bits, so.
Well, anyway, this was put out as, you know, the first half of it was put out by Studio Gallop and then Studio Dean. All right. Technically, Aniplex has it now, I think.
What was the thing called?
Because Media Blasters had it first, if I'm not.
What was the thing?
Right?
Samurai X. That was like supposed to be like.
That was just them renaming it.
Okay.
Okay, that was just because that's something I've always been confused about. No lie.
Well, let me explain that real quick while we're sitting here. Samurai X was them basically just renaming it. I guess they Rurouni Kenshin sounded too weird.
Oh, so basically like Robotech from Macross.
No, not really, because it was the exact same thing. They slapped that name on it. That was actually, it wasn't butchered or anything. It was just slapped that on there because they thought it was more marketable. But here's the thing about that. That doesn't make sense. He's not a samurai.
Right.
I mean, he's not. So that makes
I feel like on some level, like, do decision makers in charge of
don't know enough of what they're talking about to be doing shit like that.
They think anyone with a long curved sword from Japan is a samurai.
Right. We should also point out that this ran from 96 to 98, and it also was on TV on Toonami at one point.
Yes.
And like I said, I believe Media Blasters had it first, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
That I'm not 100% sure about.
If somebody wants to correct me on that, they're welcome to do so, but I'm pretty sure they did. But Aniplex, as it says here, they have it now, I believe. Anyway, it's really good. It's one nice thing about it is there's a lot of actual historical people and things that are in that actually were real people and stuff. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's some liberties taken with things, but like that was one of the nice things about the actual sets is you could pop it in, because I only rented it when it was there. I didn't actually own it at the time. Wasn't really able to get it at the time. Low on funds, you know. But they had all these like bonus features where it had like all these historical notes talking about like certain terms and people and things like that.
I'll be right back real fast. You guys talk about.
Okay. So there's that, and there was a couple of movies and OVA that came out. You had a film that was 90 minutes, just called The Motion Picture. I'm sure it was called Samurai X or whatever at the time. And ADV, I think, had those, if I'm not mistaken. The some of the films and stuff. I could be wrong. But they had the again, it's kind of hard to follow because, like I said, it falls. There's the OVAs, the series, and again, with all this name moving around and shit, it's just sort of like the New Kyoto arc that came out between 2011 and 12. You know, was 45 minutes each, and that Sentai has that now, for example. You know, whereas Aniplex has the film. Again, it's all available. You just kind of look around.
Yeah, it's kind of in bits and pieces.
Yeah, it's not everybody has like it all under one company, is what I'm saying. Which it makes it kind of a pain in the butt. Again, because the OVAs, they used to have Trust and Betrayal and Reflection, and if I'm not mistaken, those were originally put out by ADV. And then of course there was even some live action films that obviously aren't anime, but are related to the franchise as a whole.
Right.
Yeah, this was I think this aired originally at least there on Fuji TV, but I could be mistaken. Again, I've got some notes here, but they're kind of poorly scribbled out here. Some of them are. Anyway, there's Rurouni Kenshin. It was based off of manga, unsurprisingly.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it because people are going to make a comment if we don't. Yes, the guy who created it did turn out to be a creep.
Yes. And he was arrested and charged, and that's that.
Yeah, has nothing to do with the show. The show does not hold any relevance to that whatsoever if you've seen it, and you know that.
Exactly.
It's kind of annoying. Anyway, beyond that, we're going to have to move slowly into the 1997s here.
Yes.
Sevens. What am I saying? That sounded weird. 1997. I need some water. Yes. Okay. We got two things here. One is a film and one is a TV series. Now, it's hard to kind of damn it, I don't know how to proceed from here because
so we have the list. Let's reverse the order for now.
Okay, that'll work. All right, let's go ahead and talk about Pokemon.
Yeah.
1997, Pokemon, which you certainly know what that is, I would hope by now.
Listen, even if you're not the type of person who would listen to this podcast, guarantee you know what Pokemon is. It's massive. It turned into a massive property, and
it's number one, isn't it? Like worldwide or something, if I'm not mistaken.
If not number one, probably
it's
very close.
It's in the top 3 for sure. It is massive, not only because of the show, which that's not even the massive part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
The massive part of it's the games.
Yeah.
Like the video games and the card games and stuff. They're everywhere.
So listen,
you can't go anywhere without seeing them. You see them in your grocery store.
We all know. Back in the day, we were all watching Pokemon on the television.
I wasn't
playing. Well, maybe not you. We were all playing the.
Dude, you got beat up for that shit, man.
We were all playing the Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue version on the Game Boy, and we were all playing the Pokemon trading card game on the table.
Well, there you go.
At least I was. Okay. I was about to say I rolled hard with the Pokemon trading card game. I did not roll hard with the Pokemon trade. That was before I started rolling hard in anything. But I did do the trading card game. I did do the red version, and I of course watched the anime. And I remember back in the day, I don't remember what magazine this was. I think it might have been like Beckett's Pokemon Collector for like the trading card game. But I remember back when I first heard about there was 3 of them at the time. The 3 lost episodes of Pokemon.
Right. And again, that was a show that got changed considerably in its localization.
Yeah.
We should point that out. We're not going to go too much into it because...
See, I actually knew about the anime before it actually came out here because that made that news.
Right, well...
Oh, yeah, the Porygon episode?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we're not going to go too long on this because we're starting to kind of get pressed for time a bit.
Yeah.
All right, well...
I'll just go ahead and be honest here. And we're going to have to kind of move on. Everybody knows Pokemon, but it would be kind of a miss if we didn't mention it. It's like a merchandise mega giant. So
it is on the list of like media and like things that
media
make
franchises.
Money. Media franchises. This is everything. This is like Star Wars. This is like Pokemon's the number 1.
Yeah, I thought it was.
And I'm not, it's no surprise.
Right.
Because it hits so many demographics.
That's true. So, moving along, though. We're not going to dwell on this too long, simply because we've already kind of covered some of it, but the end of Evangelion movie comes out.
Yes.
It's interesting because...
It's a sticky situation.
Oh, jeez, really? Did you really have to say that?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Fuck and piss!
Oh, man, that's fantastic.
This is actually a more appropriate drop-in.
Just look at those three stooges. Have they no shame?
No, we do not. Funimation had, at least, probably tried to get this, but they didn't.
No, it was ADV tried to get this. It was Manga-tainment that had it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. My bad. And they basically failed. But anyway, to talk about the actual movie for a minute, this was made based upon the ending, seemingly, of the actual show because a lot of people didn't like it.
Anno got really mad that he got death threats about the ending, so he made it into Evangelion to piss everyone off.
Yep. It's well worth getting and checking out if you can find it.
I consider it essential watching. If you're gonna watch Evangelion, the original TV series, watch that, and then you watch End of Evangelion.
Yeah, and I saw this in art school. Wow, I was just finishing up the TV series.
I'm sorry.
Well, not only that, but like, imagine if you saw it without it. Like, none of it would make any sense whatsoever.
Listen, you have to really pay attention to make sense of it, even if you saw the TV series.
There you go. As for the show itself, or movie itself, it's a mind frag, big time. It's visually stunning, of course.
It's so excellent. It contains my favorite fight scene in any anime ever.
I'm guessing it's when Asuka goes berserk.
When Asuka just goes ham on the rest of the Eva series.
Yeah. Again, we're trying hard. We're trying hard not to get too spoilery.
Yeah.
Also, the mass production Evas, they're the good guys.
Of course.
According to Robin Williams in 1 hour photo.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, they're really not the good guys. They're not the good guys.
No. So there you go. If you like the original, you got to see it. Netflix, I believe, has it still as well, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So make sure to watch that too.
Okay.
Otherwise, the ending might mess with. In terms of the TV show, it might confuse you.
All right. Moving along.
Right. Another show that kind of follows in the footsteps of Sailor Moon in a way. Revolutionary Girl Utena.
Yes.
Now, see, just what I was saying about seeing in the Ava in art school. Unfortunately, I also saw the movie for this.
Which is actually worse because the Utena movie legitimately makes no sense.
Oh, I was like...
even if you did... I watched all of Utena, and then I watched the movie. And I was like, what?
Why are the buildings moving around?
We should point out that 39 episodes, this is JC Staff behind this one.
Yeah. Don't front on JC Staff like they haven't made hits.
I never said they don't make hits.
Joking.
Enough quabbling, damn it. We got to get this done.
All right.
Nozomi put it out if you want it now.
Nozomi has it now. It was previously put out by, I forget who.
I can't remember. Was it Viz or something?
No, CPM.
Yes, it was CPM. Yeah,
it was CPM, you're right. Yep. No. Viz has the manga.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. That's where I got confused.
Kunihiko Ikuhara got well known for his work on the Sailor Moon sequels, but this, in my opinion, is what put him on the map directorially.
Right. This is similar in the sense that it has that kind of romantic fantasy quality, but it's a little bit more serious, I guess.
It's very serious. It's highly symbolic.
Right. There's
nothing in this show is representing itself.
No, it's very much there's more than a little bit of a subtext as well.
Oh yeah.
It's there for sure. It's important in the sense that this kind of show, when it came out, was like showing that after Sailor Moon, you could still make kind of these kind of romancy kind of shows, but without necessarily having to follow its template.
Right.
The teacher presented Ikehara as like sort of like a rebel director or something.
He kind of was.
Right. And this one, I believe,
he kind of
actually
still is, really.
Well, this one actually showed up on TV, didn't it? Like, it was on Sci-Fi at some point, wasn't it?
That wouldn't surprise me. I know I originally watched
Kind of an
it through,
oddball one to pick, but...
Yeah, I know I originally watched it through Anime Network On Demand.
Okay, well, yeah, there's that, too. All right. We'd like to talk a little bit more about it, but again, still a little bit to go here, so...
So, we're going to roll into 1998, and...
Which is a big year.
Huge year for anime. This next one on the list, gentlemen, is one I'd like to approach as a trifecta, because I often see these three shows approached as a trifecta: is Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, and Trigun.
Yes, and they all came out the same year.
All came out the same year. All were big on Adult Swim and Toonami wherever they were showed.
So yeah, we're going to talk about these as kind of a collective.
Yes. So they're...
But by doing so, we still need to kind of give the info about all, though.
Yes.
All three things I never got into.
Good for you.
So, Cowboy Bebop.
26 episodes, but you knew that.
Yeah.
Sunrise worked on it, of course.
Directed by Shinichiro Watanabe. Music by Yoko Kanno.
There's that combination showing up again. This has that kind of space western opera kind of quality to it. It's got some film noir qualities there.
I would say less western, more noir.
Yeah, okay. This is an interesting bit in the sense that not only... Actually, let's not get into that. Let's go to the other ones first. Let's put out all the info first.
So, Outlaw Star.
No, if you want Cowboy Bebop, and you already know this, and you probably already have it, Funimation has it now.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Outlaw Star, same deal. It showed as well on Toonami. I think it was afterwards, right?
I believe so.
At least for us.
I believe it was Toonami. Yeah, I remember it being Toonami.
Right, and this is a space opera, basically, too.
This is a space opera, more
also a Sunrise creation.
Also Sunrise, directed by Mitsuru Hongo. This is a space opera more on the fantasy bent, because you also have swords, you have magic, you've got like various alien races.
Right. It's also
nobody talks about the spin-off. Angel Links. Because I saw
Angel Links, takes place. Right. No, I wouldn't call it considered a spin-off. Just takes place in the same universe.
Right. Well, I'm going to point out that 26 episodes. This came out. Funimation has this one as well.
Yes. And
obviously, it aired on Adult Swim, Toonami, and it also had a really good bumper, from what I remember.
Excellent bumper. Excellent bumper. Excellent.
I know my buddy hung like a zombie. Really fond of that bumper.
The Geek Panda is as well.
But beyond that, you also had Trigun, which is kind of the third one in this sort of trifecta. And this one was, again, same kind of vibe, space kind of stuff. This one's had the Western a little more.
This one is a lot more of a Western. Created by Studio Madhouse. Satoshi Nishimura directed it.
26 episodes. And again, all these ran in 1998 over the course of like a 6-month period or whatever.
Yeah, more or less.
Roughly. Again, not exactly, but roughly. And if you want this one, who has this now?
Funimation.
Funimation? Okay, yeah.
So, Funimation.
Right, so it kind of all works in your favor to think of them this way, even.
Yep.
And again, this showed on TV2 Adult Swim.
If I'm not mistaken, going back to Outlaw Star, the Funimation release of that is actually pretty impressive.
Okay. I know there's also a lot of people are manga Trigun Maximum. I'm going to throw that out there just because that ran for 10 years. December 97 to May 2007. Anyway, these are all space opera Western kind of things. All very popular. They all did really...
Yeah, all kind of dealing with, like, vagabonds and crime and...
But not in the same way that, like, Ghost in the Shell did.
No.
It's far more Western in that regard.
It's far more like
lone wolf as in Western, not like as in from the U.S.
Yeah, as in like the good, the bad, and the ugly sort of Western, where it's
right.
the lawless land, the Wild
Except this
West,
land
so to
is
speak.
space.
Yeah, so, except this land is space, so you've got all of what that entails, and depending on which show you're watching, it's going to be represented in a different way.
And there's various different degrees of existentialism in these shows too.
Yes.
I'd say Bebop has the most.
Bebop is definitely the deepest of the shows.
In terms of that concept.
Yeah.
Whereas like Trigun has like humor, a lot of humor in it if you really look at it.
Trigun is definitely a lot more humorous.
Right, and Outlaw Star kind of is sort of in between. It's got its moments too, with kind of the weird battles with Taoists and stuff like that.
Outlaw Star is wild. If I were to pick a favorite of these three, Outlaw Star is my favorite. It's just wild. They do a lot of stuff, a lot of crazy stuff with the world building and how space works and how technology works, and they do a real good job.
All good shows, really well done. They all have kind of high concepts more than a lot of stuff does that was kind of around and certainly before. And unfortunately, I think because a lot of people got into anime around that period, they saw shows like these and thought the whole thing was like that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And it's not. I'm sorry. No, that's not to knock the shows. It's not really their fault. I mean, the show's fault.
Right.
You know, if you popped in and didn't really understand that these were sort of outliers or just sort of, well, the end of the 90s had that. They had that sort of existential vibe to them.
It was the post-Evangelion trend.
Right, and there's another show in this list that we'll get to in a little bit in the same year that kind of continues this, but it's in a different style.
Yep. Then let's move on to
all right.
Kite.
Right, which we kind of poked around earlier talking about cool devices because of the design.
Yes, so this grew out of Cool Devices, directed by Yasuomi Umetsu.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Beyond that, though, we also should point out that they really pushed this one pretty hard.
Yes.
When it came out.
Yeah.
I don't think it did as well as they wanted it to. They did push it because, I mean, Studio Arms, like you said.
Yeah.
Again, but we should also point out that crime is a big element of this. That's a big element of 90s anime, if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
Because we didn't talk about it, but there's shows like You're Under Arrest.
There are two things going on in 90s anime: crime and space.
I mean, but the space wasn't handled the same way as the 80s, though.
No, not 90s got either real wild with their space or pretty down to earth with their space.
Now, we should point out one thing that's interesting about Kite. First off, Cinedigm has it. We should point that out.
Yeah.
I have no idea about that. I'll just be real with you. I have no idea who that is. So, anyway, it's been released and re-released a couple times because it was censored at one point.
Yes. So
because there was some, no doubt, graphic sex in it.
Yes.
There
So
was the lowly part. There was a part where she was like really young. And...
Yeah, exactly. Which again is also a throwback to Cool Devices.
So there's basically two versions of Kite. There's the one with sex and the one without sex.
Right. And basically, it's been released 3 times, each with less than the last one,
right,
according to this. And the most recent one being reputably uncensored. We should also point out that there's a sequel called Liberator, Kite Liberator.
Yeah, came out
Just
several years afterward.
Right, almost about
like
10.
10 years afterward.
Yeah, about 10. But I'm just putting it out so we don't have to cover it again later. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
As for the thing as a whole, I've seen it and I thought it was okay. I didn't like it as much as it was hyped up to be, unfortunately.
See, I haven't seen Kite, but I have seen Mezzo Forte, which is Umetsu's
the
next
opposite.
work.
That's the opposite. I've seen Kite, I haven't seen Mezzo Forte.
I've seen both. I've seen both of them.
I've seen Mezzo Forte, and I've also seen Mezzo the TV series.
I should point out that this is a super fucking violent bit of animation. It is very violent, and not like in the 80s way, being punched in the face violent. Not like being shot or whatever so much. I mean, that happens, but like the graphic comes from the, sort of like, you know, your teeth get knocked out of your head kind of stuff.
Right.
It's a little more real like that, being beat with a bat or something like that, you know.
Oh, so very.
We should also point out there's a really funny quote here that I enjoy from Helen McCarthy. A shocking story of violence, abuse, and perverted self-justification. So that should tell you if you want to see it or not.
Yep. Ringing endorsement from Helen McCarthy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So if you like, you know, Bronson movies, you know, or something like that, this will probably tickle your face. All right, we're gonna move along here. We're not gonna talk about this for a long time because we already kind of covered it. But Record of Lodoss War TV.
Yes.
Again, just the TV series, but does Funimation have that as well? I'm sure they.
It's all in the same package, I believe.
Is it? Okay. I wasn't sure anymore because again, it's hard to follow where a lot of this stuff went. This was 27 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
It was 20-something. I don't know offhand. Right. This is the one I haven't seen.
Okay, this is AIC. Yeah, it doesn't show who has it right now. So, as you said, it comes as a package, right?
Yeah, I think it's
all
like
of it does.
One.
Yeah, this is subtitled "Chronicles of the Heroic Knight," and again follows the same kind of stuff. It's just the TV version. I mean, if you like the OVA, I see no reason why you wouldn't enjoy this.
Right.
We're not gonna really dwell on this because we're getting a little pressed for time.
Yeah, we also talked about Lodoss War earlier.
Right. But it was on here. Now, here's the last one from the year. Serial Experiments Lane.
That's one a lot of people talk about, but I've never seen. But I know a lot of people really like that one.
It's one of the...
Speaking of post-Evangelion.
Yeah, I'd say... From
it's
what
also
I've heard
very
of,
cyberpunkish.
Yeah, from what I've heard of the reception from it, it's one of the better post-Evangelion anime.
It's highly psychological. We should point out that studio was Triangle Staff.
Yep.
There's them again. I believe Pioneer had it originally in Genion, but Funimation has it now.
Yes.
It was directed by... I'm going to fuck up this guy's name.
Ryutaru Nakamura.
Nakamura. Okay, yeah. And I remember distinctively he did not really want the U.S. to get it at some point.
Really?
I remember reading an interview where he didn't want people here to see it or something. I can't, or something like that. Somebody that worked on it was like, Americans aren't going to get it, da-da-da-da-da.
Americans are too dumb.
Basically, but he was saying it in a more polite way.
It's funny.
Now, as for the show itself, I mean, it was 13 episodes. I like it a lot. It has a very unique visual style to it, and by that I mean the character designs, the whole bit. Like they have these character designs almost have like these flat faces, but they're still like really rounded. I can't really think of a way to say it.
The show almost looks gloomy on an atmospheric level.
Purely, yeah, exactly. And there's parts of it where they do a thing where it goes completely ape shit.
Right.
Like it almost looks like somebody drugged your drink or something. Like you took it and you're like, what the fuck? You know, they use static and all kinds of stuff, you know, almost infrared looking deals and just all kinds of tricks, I guess, for the lack of a better term. And again, it continues that existential thing. It talks about like what is reality and the future of communication. There's philosophical kind of stuff with it, and even some kind of religious and conspiracy kind of stuff. Again, like Evangelion.
Yeah.
Although in this
has a very unique presentation, especially even for the time and even for 1998 when all this other outlier anime was coming out.
Yeah, I see you messed up the date of one of these. I just noticed.
What was that?
Perfect Blue. That came out in 97.
We haven't talked about it yet.
That came out in 97. You have it in 99.
Do I? Might have made a mistake.
Well, oops. We were bound to fuck up at least eventually.
Yeah, 1997. Okay.
Well, we'll come back to that after this then. Anyway, it's still available. I think, like I said, Funimation has it, and Pioneer used to have it. I know for a fact they did, because that's when I saw it.
Right.
it's not the easiest watch. I'll say that. It really isn't. It's you got to kind of hanker down and pay attention.
Yeah, this is one of those shows you have to sit down and pay the fuck attention for.
No, you can't like have this on in the background and absorb it that way.
Right.
It's not going to happen. It's interesting how they largely predicted the future of the internet, though. If you really think about it, like how they thought communication would go.
Right.
They were remarkably astute about that. Again, we can't really talk about it too much because there's spoilers galore. It's interesting though, and if you like any of the stuff we're talking about, philosophy or even just a big computer geek, even you'd probably get a good viewing out of it, or just any of this other stuff. And it does kind of fit in, even if it's more cerebral. I would say it's more cerebral than Evangelion. I mean, you have to pay more attention to Lane, I think. Definitely more using the noggin a bit. So really cool, good stuff, and it's unique because I've never seen any other show like it in terms of visual presentation. Not really. I'm not saying that. I don't think it really inspired other shows, really, because you don't see that same like muted look like that.
Okay, let's move along.
Let's definitely move along. So let's talk about Perfect Blue. This was supposed to be in 1997, but I fucked up and put the U.S. release date instead of the actual release date.
Yeah. So
also,
we're going back.
We're
going back. This one's directed by Satoshi Kon.
Yes.
It's a theatrical film. It was originally put out, like you said, in 97, but I guess we didn't get it till 99. Is that where the confusion came from?
We did not get it till 99, correct.
Madhouse was the production company here. This was a big deal. It did pretty well. I remember, and I also remember Madonna using scenes from it in one of her like tours or something.
Huh.
I know. I thought that was weird too. And Khan is kind of this. He's a really he was, I guess, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, unfortunately.
A really talented guy. He had other movies and things too, but this kind of fits into that 90s vibe because it was dark.
Yeah.
This really dark kind of.
Also, it's about idols.
Yes. Yeah. Interestingly enough, you could almost think of what Wake Up Girls would be if it were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yamakan, take notes.
Yes. It's a very good movie.
Go big or go home.
Yeah. It's a very good movie. It's well worth seeing. Like I said, it did well here. Better than I thought it would.
Satoshi Kon stuff was far more popular here than there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. And you know, it kind of reminds you of like Alfred Hitchcock and things like that a little bit. I mean, that sort of like mysterious kind of there's murder going on kind of bit. Like not almost making it like a game of Clue or some shit.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean, because you don't really know exactly what's going on. And it purposefully kind of throws you off a little bit, messing around with stuff. It's probably my favorite movie of his overall. I don't know. I do like Paprika as well.
So I'm gonna get shot for this, but I actually haven't seen Perfect Blue. Not yet, at least.
Okay. Well, you have a homework assignment.
There you go. You were talking about like we were talking about Otaku no Video, and it's like Otaku can do anything type.
This is the they
opposite.
can. This is an almost inversion of this.
This is Otaku are the most hideous scum ever.
1991. Otaku can do anything. Otaku are great.
1997.
Everyone should become otaku. 6 years later, man, fuck otaku.
And I just got this hilarious visual of saying that. Please see my movie. Like, yeah, fuck otaku, and then walks away. Then comes back to the mic. Please see my movie.
Oh, so
that's almost like the Dave Chappelle thing. Please believe me.
That's Yamakan's MO, right?
So Yamakan's MO. Man, fuck otaku. Please watch my anime.
But you'll notice that as the 90s drags on, massive influx of psychological thriller kind of elements.
Post Evangelion.
Right. Again, we kind of all
People really underestimate how much
Okay.
Eva changed anime.
Okay, to be fair, this is pretty funny. It's from the chat. To be fair, you have to have a big IQ to understand Lane. Not so much. You just gotta pay attention.
I think
But
you
then
need
again,
to
I
have,
think that's true of most shows, really.
you know what? I think you need to have a big IQ to understand the next one.
Yeah. So moving on to 1999, we're going into
We're gonna
Two
finish up
Heart.
the year. Too hard.
Yes.
So
Okay.
Two Heart is the prototype to a genre of anime I like to call mid-level, early to mid 2000s harem romance comedies. You're gonna see a lot of the. We're not
throw
gonna
out the specs here.
talk. We're probably not gonna talk about nearly all of them on the next installment of this history of anime thing, but we're gonna mention quite a few. I'm just gonna basically rattle off a whole bunch of titles.
Can I point out something
This
real
is a
quick?
genre that happened a whole lot in the mid 2000s, and basically the two seeds of it were Tenchi Universe and Two Heart, as far as I'm concerned.
Right. We should point out it's an adult visual novel. It's from by Leaf.
Yes.
I would also say Tokimeki Memorial was the other.
This was
that too.
the series as a franchise. The original series was done by OLM and
Oriental Light and Magic.
Right, that's what it stands for, and it's currently held by Right Stuff.
Yep.
And its sequel, which came out a couple years later, was done kind of a co-project, right, between AIC and OLM.
I
don't
Are you
think.
talking about? No. Well, here's the thing. There was a sequel to this Too Hard.
Yeah,
Right.
Remember My Memories, right?
Yeah.
Right. But then,
That's what I was referring to.
okay, because then there's Too Hard 2.
Right, which we're not going to go deep dive here, though.
All right. I would say
So,
oh, yeah.
do Right Stuff have the other ones too, or no?
No. Sentai has Too Hard 2. oddly
Correct.
enough.
Okay. So if you're interested, this is where a lot of those mid-level sort of rom-coms and harem things.
Have you ever seen Too Hard 2? I mean, have you ever seen
just
Too
the
Hard?
first one?
The first one? All right. Because it does look really nice because it's cell animated.
yeah.
Right.
So it has a very nice soft look to it.
right.
The thing about Too Hard is that if you watch it today, it looks like I've seen the stuff. I've seen the stuff before, but at the
because
time,
it's been copied so much
Bingo.
right, but
as a
at the time,
template.
it was original or very early on.
Right. That's why we're mentioning it, because you can directly draw, no pun intended, back to this, where a lot of this stuff like Shuffle and all that came from. If you
Right.
really think about it, you can easily see where it came from if you've seen Too Hard. And it really does kind of set the stage for the next episode we're going to do
Yes,
in
it does.
regards to this history of anime, because that takes over in a big way, a lot of that. If not the shows themselves, just the sheer amount of it that starts coming out, which much to the annoyance of certain folks,
Aha.
you know. We should also point out that these games were kind of interesting in the sense that they were not just on like Windows, but also like the PlayStation.
I have I own
PlayStation
the
2,
PlayStation
PSP.
version.
Right. So you got it is a big deal. And again, just looking at it, I really think of things like Shuffle, which was a show I liked a lot, and obviously I saw before this one actually. But when I actually went back and watched it eventually, it was like, oh, now I see why these shows are as popular as they are, and what kind of drove them to be made in the first place.
Right.
And that's the main reason it's getting mentioned.
The
Now,
only people that look like the antagonist in Perfect Blue watch that.
yeah,
Except for
I'm
me,
sure.
apparently.
Right.
Except
Now,
for, and all of us, apparently.
we're gonna go ahead and cap off the last one we got written here, and for various reasons, it's Turn A Gundam.
Yes.
Now, what needs to be mentioned about this is the weird symbol. It's pronounced Turn A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an upside down A basically.
Yeah.
Just watch just watch the beginning. They say the name.
Right.
And
Now,
a real
there's
nice booming voice too.
Now the reason this is important is because Tamino is back,
Yeah, baby.
And it's also the last.
Brain power didn't quite work out.
No.
Dude,
Speaking of post Evangelion,
you wanna imagine Tamino walking into like the Gundam studios like, hey Tamino, brain power didn't work out for you, did it? You ready to start on this new Gundam anime?
Yes. Like I can just see him. Yes. Anyway, the other thing
about that Garzy's wing.
Yeah. Remember Garze's wing?
He's gonna be at the New York Anime.
I know he's gonna be at New York. New York Anime Fest.
Are we famous enough? Are we famous enough that someone's gonna ask him?
Oh no! You've never had
Garzy's wing.
No way.
How about that Garzy's wing?
Anyway, Tamino's back.
Gundam.
Tamina's back. Obviously, Sunrise, and for the first time, you can actually get it.
Yes.
I will say,
wasn't this one of the first ones that they put out after that Nozomi deal, wasn't it?
I believe so, but here's the other interesting thing about this that's a little different. One, the music was by Yoko Kanno, which is cool.
Such a good soundtrack.
And B, it's also the last Gundam, if I'm not mistaken, that was actually cell animated.
yes,
Correct.
And that's the main reason we added it, I believe. And because Tamino, it's 50 episodes. Yeah. Again, obviously, it's interesting because it's got a different look to it a little bit.
It's very different.
Yeah, both in terms of, and especially in terms of mechanical design, it's a little odd. Not in a bad way. It's just odd.
No, they're really interesting. I will say I've only seen the compilation movies.
Right, and it's well worth getting it. I'm a big fan, and yeah, those movies they put out Earthlight and Moonlight Butterfly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Now, again, it was one of the last ones to actually, like I said, feature cell animation, because the ones from here on out will be, from the digital age.
Yes.
And we'll talk more about that, well, probably in the next episode, actually. Or whenever we do it. And also, it has a lot of those weird Tamino things. Outside of strange names, you start hearing about nanotechnology kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's very different. So it kind of takes place in such a far future that it doesn't even matter what the past was.
Right, because we're talking thousands of years. Shit.
But you see, like Zaku's, but they have a different name.
And that's the other thing is when it was originally made, it was supposed to be far, far, far in the future of UC.
Yes.
But that's kind of been retconned, if I'm not mistaken. And that is like...
They kind of try to make it so it's like...
everything would fit.
Yeah, like it's the far future of any one of these.
Yeah, because they show
universes.
like Gundam and
right, and it's loose enough to where you can do that.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're still using Zaku's and Kapuls.
Right, so you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
The one thing I did like about it was how they messed with the moon. They kind of had the idea about the moon, because the moon doesn't play a big role in a lot of Gundams, really. I mean, a couple of them it does, but in the sense that it doesn't either play as a base or a strategic thing as much as you think it would.
Yeah, we know there's bases on the moon in UC, but outside of 0083, you don't really see a whole lot.
Right, whereas this has a thing called the moon race in it. I mean, so again, it's very different. I like it a lot, and for the time you can really legally get it.
Yeah.
I actually still need to pick it up. It's one of the few I still don't have.
Same here.
And that's probably gonna be my next one, as far as the stuff I don't have. I think that's probably a good point to leave off, because it kind of...
right.
It's bringing the old and the new together.
Yeah, I think it's
end of the Cell era in
yes.
kind of a way, and so it's also the end of the 90s.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Now, when we go back into the next episode, which I'm not sure if it'll be the actual next episode, as in chronologically, if it'll be our next episode.
Right. Whenever we do the
2000s episode, we'll try to pick back up from that same kind of mindset, though. That kind of left off with the start of the real digital age.
Right.
Because there's some crossover between the end of the 90s and the early 2000s with CG and all that, and some of it's pretty damn ugly. I'm not gonna lie to you, like, because they had not figured some of it out yet, and
not everything could be Macross Plus. What can I say?
Yeah, like it's like playing Final Fantasy VII now. It's a great game, but its polygons are kind of ugly.
Yeah, it's kind of dated.
You know, it doesn't hold up as well as you'd like it to from a visual standpoint. It's still a great game. And some shows are like that too. Good show. Visually, it doesn't work as well.
Right.
And since I said it's the end of the Cell saga, somebody's going to make a joke about the Majin Buu saga. Of course they got to. That's not what I meant by Cell, and it's not even spelled the same. Okay. All right. So that's probably going to do it for the 90s, I think.
That is indeed the 90s, and that is the show.
We actually kind of wanted to originally do some more stuff. I mean, because we wanted to mention some other shows like Berserk or, you know, Ninja Scroll and things like that. And we really, if we had more time, we probably would have.
Also, we have an entire alternate list of shows that we cut for time.
We could have worked with. Yeah, because for one thing or another.
I'm going to just name off a whole bunch of titles right now.
Sure, just so you don't think we completely forgot about this stuff.
So, Transformers Zone, Tekkaman Blade, Macross 2, Gal Gaigar, Ninja Scroll, Sailor Moon R the Movie, Princess Mononoke, the Dragon Quest Anime, Yu Yu Hakusho, The Slayers, Fushigi Yugi, Dragon Ball GT, my second favorite anime, Martian Successor Nadesco, Berserk, Cutie Honey Flash, Oh My Goddess, Bubblegum Crisis Tokyo 2040, Cardcaptor Sakura, Yu-Gi-Oh! I used to go real hard in Yu-Gi-Oh! The card game.
The very good Crest of the Stars.
Excellent show. Devil Hunter Yoko.
Which, one quick thing, that was, if I'm not mistaken, ADV's first release.
Correct.
Yes, it was. Yes.
801 TTS Airbats, Dirty Pair Flash, Plastic Little, Venus 5, Golden Boy, Asian Ica, G-Tace, Macross 7, Get a Robo Armageddon, and the aforementioned Garzy's Wing.
We should also point out that toward the end of the 90s, some of the studios that were localizing a lot of this stuff and putting it out, distributing and all that, some of them did collapse or were about to. We unfortunately saw Central Park Media not doing so hot. Started toward the end, if I'm not mistaken.
Toward the end, though, they wouldn't really collapse until sometime in the mid-2000s, I believe.
And ADV Films, we're still okay now, but they're going to start having some problems too, and we'll cover all this next time.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
But we wanted to mention all these shows and stuff because they had some relevance, of at least to us they did.
Oh, yeah.
And we didn't just have enough time for it. If we did another episode, we might. And who knows, maybe in the future we'll do some bonus shit.
What we'll probably do is just our favorite anime of each era.
Yeah, or something like that. Maybe at the end of the entire... At the end of the serial, maybe?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, we'll work with that.
Okay, that's the show. The email address is ntrradio@gmail.com. The website is ntrradio.net. You can find VZ stuff at vzmk2moemekagatei.wordpress.com. He also has a book. It's The Big Book of Idols. You can find that at thebigbookofIdols.com. VZ also did the design for the shirts, which you can find at iyashike.moe/store. iyashike.moe being where I post articles and content relating to otaku culture and the otaku lifestyle. August is Otaku Pride Month. We're talking... I just recently put out an article on Iyashike about the concept of otaku having no political allies, which is an episode we did a while back of this podcast. You can find the half-naked anime girls figures I sell at shinikiba.moe. Check out Otaku Midnight, the Bakugaijin show, as well as my buddy the Geeky Panda at thegeekypanda.net, because all their stuff is really good. and I highly recommend it. I don't believe I'm missing anything other than you can get our show on
T-shirts.
iTunes. I mentioned the T-shirts.
If you want to drop like a review or a ranking, fine.
Actually, iTunes doesn't even exist anymore, really.
Oh
does it?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We outlived iTunes.
Hey!
Okay.
I can tell you that you can get at me on Twitter at TANubis, VZ on Twitter at VZMK2, KGods on Twitter at Immortal_KGods, the show on Twitter at NTR_Radio. I'm Tom Enforcer Nubis.
I'm KGods.
I'm VZ Mark II.
And even though we have to, even though we forget about Garzy's wing every time we say it, this is NTR Radio.